now like to request everyone to please stand up for the UAE and Australian national anthems. Now, we all know that you have had a rather challenging month. 180 teams and over 1,100 students registered for the competition, and you all have made it here today with your teachers to compete for the coveted DEWA Business Cup Challenge 2020 trophy. Well done, teams. So here's what our sponsors have lined up for you. DEWA will be offering an internship to the winning team. The winning team will win multiple entry passes to Bounce Middle East, and all participants will receive a voucher for the same. Our industry partners, UniNet Student Residences and Hunter Foods, will present hampers to the winning teams. Our scholarships partner, Transnational Academic Group, will award scholarships to study at Curtin's Dubai campus to all winners and an internship to the second runner-up. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. Please put your hands together for them. We would now like to introduce our panel of judges for today's competition. Our first judge is respected Dr. Hisham Ismail, head of the 41R research group at DEWA R&D. The 41R research area includes drones, robotics, IoT, AI, advanced material, and 3D printing. We also have with us Professor John Evans, currently PVC and president at Curtin University's Dubai campus. Professor John has previously served as the PVC and CEO of Curtin Malaysia. With decades of experience in teaching and research in transnational education, Professor John holds a PhD from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and is a fellow of the CPA Australia. We also have with us Dr. Khyati Shetty, the head of the Curtin Business School and School of Humanities at Curtin University, Dubai. She is the recipient of the GCC Education Leaders Award 2019, is one of the top 100 global training and development minds of 2018, and the recipient of the GCC Women Leaders Award 2017. She is also an executive coach and innovation facilitator based in Dubai and has conducted over 300 plus workshops in over 10 countries. She has also been working as a talent and leadership consultant for government bodies in Nigeria, Ghana, Dubai, Sri Lanka, and Mauritius. She holds an MBA in marketing and a doctorate in brand personality congruence. Our next judge is Ms. Sana Rajpurohit, a management consultant in the Middle East with a background in software engineering. She has previously worked with Google and big data analytics. As a management consultant, she advises Fortune 500 companies on their digital transformation strategy that includes cloud computing, SaaS, and data analytics. Leading the panel today is Mr. Daniel Adkins, Chief Executive Officer of Transnational Academic Group Middle East. Dan began his career working in the information technology industry. During his 20 years in the IT industry, he performed IT services for companies including IBM, Dell, Clorox, Philips, Hershey's, Coca-Cola, and Visa. For the past 13 years, Dan has been an academic and leader in various universities. Ladies and gentlemen, could we all please extend a very warm welcome to our judges, sponsors, and distinguished guests. I would now like to invite Mr. Daniel Adkins to officially open the DEWA Business Cup Challenge 2020 finals.
Thank you so much, Avril. I really appreciate that. And I very much appreciate the efforts that have been put in by all of the teams. We had roughly 180 teams, 1,100 student participants this year, even given the challenges of the Business Cup Challenge having to be conducted online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Over the past couple of years, we have seen that the level of skill demonstrated by the students has increased significantly from when we did our first Business Cup Challenge many years ago. And because of that, and also because of the nature of this year's topic, big data, we made this year's challenge just a little bit tougher because we wanted to see what students really could do. And we also wanted to maximize the learning experience for the students. And I believe we did that. The average mark for teams during the first 3 weeks when written submissions of solutions to the case studies were sent in was only about 40 or 42, where in previous years it had been closer to 60. But by having slightly more difficult case studies, it allowed us to give more in-depth feedback to the students. And we really feel like at Curtin Dubai that the entire purpose for conducting any event like the Business Cup Challenge is to really give students an opportunity to get a level of feedback that they would not normally get in secondary school, where they have industry professionals who are bringing, in many cases, a combined total of over 100 years experience on the judging panel to their solutions. We're giving students a level of feedback that, if you had to pay for it, would be extremely expensive. But we feel like this is the best way to help prepare students for a future as entrepreneurs. And we are so thankful for our title sponsor, DEWA, for having that same belief and that same feeling and being committed to advancing the knowledge of students in the UAE so that those students will be able to then go and make a very positive impact on society, the same way that DEWA does every day, especially with its move toward reducing energy and water consumption and developing sustainable energy solutions. This year, we had 5 teams that scored extremely well, averaging some 60 points on each of the final 3 cases and getting into the finals that way. We had 1 team that made it into the finals by developing a very creative and powerful video explaining what participating in the BCC had done for them and winning our social media challenge. And then last week, we had about 80 teams present elevator pitches where they got up for 40 seconds and pitched an idea to our esteemed panel of judges. While the intention was to only have 5 finalists come out of that, due to a tie for 5th place, we actually have 6 finalists who advanced to the finals through the elevator pitch. So today we're in for a real treat. We're going to get to see the 12 top teams that were competing in this Business Cup Challenge present their best idea on how to use big data to improve something about the way DEWA operates here in the UAE. So our 12 finalists, in no particular order, are Blitzkrieg from Al Diafa High School, Brown Cartel from James Wellington Academy, Silicon Oasis, the Wolves of Wall Street from Dubai International Academy, Emirates Hills, Team FFF from Dubai College, Analytical Notia from Cambridge International School, Dubai, Team Insurgents, also from Al Diafa High School, Big Data Analyzers from James Wellington International School, Veins from Dubai American Academy, TES from Sunmark School, Beta Squad from Raffles International School, Albatross from Dubai English Speaking College, and Dense Data, again from James Wellington Academy, Silicon Oasis. So all of you on these teams and your schools should be extremely proud of what you've done. You have made it to the finals in the most difficult Business Cup Challenge held to date. So congratulations on that. And now back to Everil so we can proceed with the competition.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. Now teams, are we ready to compete? Let's get started. Can we please have the first finalist, Team TES from School Sunmark International, to come up and begin their presentation? Teams, you may begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're Tess, and this is our team. We have Ismail, Muskan, Kayan, Taha, Fatima, and Sarah, who unfortunately can't be here with us today, and I'm Yusir. So the overall concept of our idea is for DEWA to minimize the volume of water and energy consumption for Dubai while maintaining the high quality lifestyle of its consumers. So the system which we propose, which would be most effective for DEWA to undertake, is the construction of a reward system, which will incentivize the consumers of energy and water in Dubai to decrease their consumption. Although this would encourage people, the customers may not be aware of the ways in which they can do that. So by developing the already existing DEWA app, in a way which provides suggestions and methods of decreasing their volume of consumption, this will ensure that the process of doing so is simplistic and a possibility for every customer to save money on their DEWA bill without having to take lifestyle cutbacks. However, customers with households comprised of smart systems would have an existing feature which would allow consumption to be further minimized. The owners of smart homes would be able to have DEWA automatically change their consumption, rather than having to manually change their consumption routine based on the suggestions. The app would automatically program the household to be more efficient. The impact of access to automatic DEWA home control would be much more productive in the long term, with predictions such as the number of global smart homes being forecast to grow and surpass the 300 million mark by 2023.
Dubai is a highly developed city with the majority of its citizens and residents accustomed to a luxurious lifestyle and are unlikely to want to compromise that voluntarily. In order to encourage people to be more environmentally cautious, there needs to be an incentive. This incentive is a 50% discount on the 7th month of them being consecutively efficient for 6 months. The way in which we can distinguish if they have improved their consumption regulation is by a collection of data consisting of a calculation with an ideal efficiency based on the type of home, members of the home, and location. We will be giving each individual household an average efficiency quota for the consumption based on the collection of data. If they are the average efficiency quota for 6 months consecutively, they will be applicable for a 50% discount on the following month's bill. This will create a stimulus for a more cautious environment in the long term. Big data could be used here to monitor consumers' energy and water usage patterns, notifying them when they are using more or less than they should. This will be accompanied with general hints and tips about using their water and energy efficiently. For example, apartments could have notifications about only using aircon in the rooms you are using, or villas can have targeted advice on efficient ways to water your garden. These will provide relevant ways to encourage DEWA consumers to reduce their energy and water consumption, which won't compromise their lifestyle.
Our system will also provide an optional automation system, which can be integrated within smart homes. The GCC smart homes market has grown by 18.6% over the period of 2014 to 2019, and has been driven by improving technology infrastructure in the region. This system can be compromised with DEWA. Through the system, the smart homes can be notified on their bills, as well as different ways that they can reduce their consumption. These recommendations can then automatically be followed up by the app. In addition to the advice given to regular DEWA consumers, smart home owners will also be able to control their consumption through the app. For example, if a consumer left for work and forgot to turn off their aircon, the app will use big data to identify that the aircon was not normally on at this time. A notification would then be sent to the user, and then they would have to option remove their aircon.
In order to suggest ways to reduce their consumption, the development of the app will allow us to generate suggestions based on their routine and their daily life. The ability of tracking and collecting the data needs to be an agreed upon contract between the customer and DEWA. The reason why we need to ensure this is that the collections of the data made about the customer is not an invasion of privacy, to ensure that there will be no legal actions taken against DEWA. Ways in which DEWA can suggest decrease in consumption for the customer is by finding the most efficient times or ways of doing certain things. For example, by notifying them of an unusual increase or change in energy and water consumption during their average routine. Also by finding routine patterns and depending on whether or not the consumption is at its peak and encouraging the decreasing period. We believe that by outlining the saving benefits and environmental benefits, the user will see this as something they want to opt into the app. The data we collect will not be shared with any third party or other government organizations, and the big data will be used solely for helping the customer reduce their water or energy consumption.
From a political point of view, the UAE aims to reduce the water scarcity index by 2021. And with our business idea, the volume of water consumption would decrease. Our idea, therefore, is aligned with the government aims and benefits the country as a whole. Developing an app and monitoring future integrations with smart homes will create plenty of job opportunities for UAE residents, which in turn will lead to an increased aggregate spending. From an economic point of view, due to the investment in technology, in the long run, there's an increase in economic growth due to the increase in the productive potential of the economy. Furthermore, this investment acts as an injection into the economy, which can then lead to a multiplier effect promoting economic growth.
From a social point of view, the UAE aims to reduce water and energy consumption whilst not compromising the quality of life of its residents. By implementing our system, we can help to create social awareness about ongoing environmental issues in the country. This means that people are more willing to make smaller changes that have a big impact on the society as a whole. From a technological point of view, the development in the app will help to organize information for existing and new customers. In addition to that, the new features such as the optimistic control of smart homes can promote the technological progression of smart living. This meets the UAE's 2030 vision. From a legal perspective, they need to make sure that the app follows data protection laws. This means that we will require a formal agreement with our customers. To further protect our customers' rights, we will need to make sure we have legitimized access to the data. From an environmental point of view, DEWA aims to grow sustainably in order to preserve their natural capital and ensure economic prosperity in the future. By using our system, we can limit the energy and water consumption, which can contribute to fulfilling these aims. In addition, the plan could also help to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases. These contributions help to reverse the effects of climate change.
Our system incorporates big data as we integrate different figures calculating the ideal water and energy consumption of each group. This can be achieved by comparing the average efficiency of the area as a whole and the average efficiency of the members of consumption. Our system will be tracking and collecting the volume consumption of energy and water monthly per every individual customer. The use of data will allow us to distinguish an average efficiency quota simultaneously for every household and measure that against the current consumption data. With the data we acquire with the help of artificial intelligence and machine learning, we will be able to understand the daily patterns of our users, and we'll be able to observe and recognize irregular patterns when there will be an unusual amount of energy or water being used at, and inform the homeowners about it, which will help us decrease the overall consumption.
Currently, the average Dubai household consumes 18.5 million watt hours of energy and 160 billion liters of water yearly. The Monetization system will save residents 30% on their electricity and water bill yearly. The cost of supplying water and electricity is 43 million dirhams per DEWA. The cost of DEWA to save for consumers to save on their 7 consecutive months of being efficient is 10 to 15 million. However, DEWA's saving of costs all depends on how many people use the Monetization system. So less than 10% people use it, we're expected to save up to 1.3 billion dirhams. If up to 50% saving, we can save up to 6.5 billion dirhams. And if 70% and over save, we can expect between 9.2 and 13 billion dirhams saved. And the graph behind me displays our reduction in savings of costs over a year, a span of time up to 2030.
In conclusion, the decreasing volume of consumption in every household would have such a significant impact on the sustainability statistics within Dubai that the concern for sustainability within companies and other corporations would be offset. The development of our system will use big data to learn about consumers' energy and water consumption and use this data to educate users about how they can be more efficient. And this will encourage users to be more efficient with their energy and water consumption. In the long term, the cost savings along with the environmental benefits will help DEWA to fund more smart homes in the future, helping to build a sustainable and greener future for Dubai. Thank you very much, and good luck to the rest of our competitors.
Well done, Team Tess. Our next team for today is Blitzkrieg from Al Diafa School. Team, you may begin.
DEWA is the official supplier of electricity and water in Dubai, also one of the leading companies in the area of electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. But that's not all. DEWA is the topmost company in terms of efficiency all across the world. Through the use of technology like the smart grid systems and big data, they manage and control the electricity and water supply of the whole emirate. This uses processes like load management, which uses data to calculate peak times and adjust generation to match consumption, and distribution channels to minimize loss and maximize efficiency. DEWA is currently the front runner in this field. So rather than focusing on the present, we decided to focus on the future. Good morning to everyone present here. We're Team Blitzkrieg from Al Diafa High School. We have created a two-part plan, one of which will help reduce electricity and water consumption, focusing on consumer behavior, and the other that plays a part in storage and transmission of electricity, helping Dubai transition into the world of renewables. This plan is called ALPS, which stands for Artificial Intelligence and Analytics in Load and Power Management Systems. And much like the mountain range, we plan to be extensive in our services, covering each and every aspect possible to reduce consumption of electricity and water while allowing our consumers to enjoy their normal lifestyles. There are multiple technologies that people can use to cut down water and electricity usage. It's just that people either don't know about them or don't know where or how to implement them. This is where the first part of our plan comes in, focusing on three main users: everyday household users, businesses, and architects. To provide the services we mentioned, we plan to integrate our idea to DEWA's already existing application, in which consumers can manage their accounts and check current consumptions and set limits. Users will get to input the devices they have installed in their house. Through the use of big data, we plan to first compare the currently installed items to the most efficient items in the same price range. And with the use of already existing data about the consumption from the user, we provide a cost-wise analysis on how the other product will be better for them. This will not only allow the cutting down of consumption, but will reduce the effect effects of the pandemic by encouraging spendings from the consumers, helping ease the economy. We will also share strategies to cut down consumption through the use of already existing equipment. This will be done with a separate database containing all possible solutions collected by our analysts. A stepwise procedure will be produced explaining the steps of setting up or operating the equipment to the consumer. For businesses, along with the points already stated, constant monitoring can be done on the consumption through the use of smart switches, which will be linked to their DEWA profiles so that it can detect faulty machinery and possible power cuts can be prevented. Lastly, for the architects, according to the information collected by them about the location of the building, its material and structure, possible natural factors, and low-level cheap technology that can help out will be suggested to them. Like in a place where the cold air current is available, cross-ventilation will be suggested to them, which will mean that the users in that building won't need to install ACs, which will help cut down on a major part of their DEWA bills. For malls and public spaces, special devices like low-flow restrictors can be used, which will help reduce water wastage. Lastly, an average cost per household will be calculated according to the data collected, taking into consideration the number of people and past usage. If they have an average consumption lower than the other households in the same area for 3 consecutive months, they will be eligible for a 10% discount on their fourth month.
The second part of our plan focuses on increasing efficiency and decreasing costs. This is divided into two stages. Stage 1 is to minimize the cost of electricity generation and maximize the efficiency. We need to keep the coal power plants running at full capacity, as if we vary the generation with the demand, it is more expensive to produce energy when the demand decreases. This is exactly what we are suggesting, to run the plants at full capacity to minimize costs. This will help cut down costs and decrease pollution. Stage 2. We believe the greatest challenge with implementing completely renewable sources will be its reliability to meet demand if energy production is low. To solve this problem, we suggest the installation of storage facilities. Through the use of big data, we can calculate peak usage times and times of low demands. This is so that when the energy demand is low, we can transfer all of the excess energy produced to the storage facility. And as soon as there is an increase in demand, we transfer the energy not only from the energy generation facilities, but also from the storage system. This will also allow us to cut down on the use of coal power stations, not only by literally shutting them down as we have enough energy produced, but also due to the fact that we have a store of energy available, which will suffice to meet peak demands. We suggest the use of gravity energy storage systems, which are not only one of the most efficient storage systems currently, but also have the potential to be even better in the future through the use of further research and development. The main advantages to this technology are the fact that it is not geographically dependent and that this will work well in unison with the hydro pump storage facility built in Hadda by DEWA to manage and control the whole grid system. Once installed, these facilities can run for up to 50 years, and this will help DEWA transition into a 100% renewable generator energy source. We believe that we can implement this in old and soon to close mine shafts. This will not only cut down the cost of installation, but the environment will benefit too. Its ability to react to sudden demands and production of electricity can be completed in a fraction of a second, maintaining the stability of the grid. Even though we close a coal power plant, our systems will be fully functional, satisfying all energy demands. This is due to a decrease in consumption as mentioned in part 1, along with the storage facilities that will provide energy in times of high demands. So overall, not only will they not lose any profits, but consumptions can be reduced by a major factor, and shifting into a 100% renewable powered emirate is made entirely possible.
Our system works towards the Sustainable Development Goals set by the UN. Through this, we can improve UAE's relationship with other countries while establishing Dubai's position in the world, which would also encourage other countries and cities to follow through in Dubai's footsteps, opening the path to partnering with different countries to meet similar aims, further helping them implement similar technology, acting as a boost for the country to reach its Sustainable Development Goals.
Efficient energy consumption would allow firms to cut down production costs and produce higher outputs. With more firms producing higher outputs, this will increase competitiveness in the economy, resulting in better quality goods sold for lower prices, which together would increase spending. Increased spending would allow for higher government revenue through VAT, enabling increased government expenditure into the economy, making fiscal and supply-side policies measures more effective. Increased competitiveness would even encourage firms from foreign markets to enter, thus increasing foreign investments. Due to increased competition, firms may decide to expand their operations to increase outputs. This will create job vacancies, which will in turn reduce unemployment, and a higher output due to expansion would boost the UAE's GDP.
Coming to social factors, implementing big data to help consumers recognize the efficiency of their current appliances would reduce utility costs, allowing consumers to have a higher disposable income, leading to better standards of living and improved lifestyles. Our plan would educate and spread awareness regarding renewable energy sources through our application, which informs consumers about the efficiency of their applications as well as their consumption levels. This would influence people's buying habits and will also change their attitudes towards renewable energy. Our plan may even influence the future of the UAE as it would inspire and fascinate young minds into the field of renewables, placing UAE in the hands of innovative minds.
With investments into fintech, the UAE would have access to newer technologies in the field of data analysis, contributing to accurate interpretation of consumer appliances and efficiencies, thus allowing room for improvement. The smart switch system would monitor consumption, enabling for better analysis in the overall and specialized usage of electrical equipment. DEWA has already implemented an AI chatbot known as Ramas in their app, to which we can link our database to, which will in turn be able to answer any doubts or inquiries about newer additions to the application with the aid of smart learning. The installation of the gravity energy storage system requires the use of no new technologies, just concrete blocks connected to a generator. As demand decreases, we pull the block up using electricity. This acts as a store for the energy, and as demand increases, we lower the block, pulling strings on the generator, in turn generating electricity. The data collected from the experimental stage of the product conclude that the storage alternative is highly feasible, along with the advancements in technology and data analysis, speeding up the process of implementing the plan in UAE.
We keep in mind all the environmental laws and practices in the UAE while constructing and implementing our system, abiding with laws such as the Federal Law number 24 of 1999 and Local Order number 61 of 1991. We aim to provide consumers with knowledge, different options, representations, and information, following through with the five main rights of the consumers, as the app contains all information necessary for the consumer to choose and make a knowledgeable decision, and the software is also safe and reliable. Although UAE does not currently have any law pertaining to this, we plan to keep consumer privacy in mind when handling big data.
Now the environmental factors. The UAE geographical position helps the generation of solar power in Dubai as it receives more sunlight near the equatorial zone, which places Dubai in a good spot to exploit its natural sources and implement renewable electricity generation, such as solar power systems, into the mix, also contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals planned by the UN. Our plan focuses mainly on reducing the total carbon emissions generated by DEWA, achieved by lowering the usage of carbon-based power plants and supporting renewable sources, while also making them reliable, allowing Dubai to depend on them. This also promotes the usage of these energy sources, ultimately paving the path for Dubai to be the first carbon-neutral emirate throughout the Middle East in roughly the next 30 years, also following the Dubai Clean Energy Strategy 2050, as only the energy generated from renewable sources will be required.
Our mission is to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases emitted from non-renewable energy generation, such as coal power plants, and implement efficient energy generation and consumption methods using big data to lower cost of water and electricity load. Our vision is to make Dubai run on 100% renewable energy by the year 2050. We're going to achieve this goal through the use of gravity energy storage, which would replace non-renewable energy generation as it is carbon neutral.
Coming to our financial plan, as we are eliminating the need for a coal power plant, the cost cut down would add up to 32 million dirhams annually. Moving on to our expenses, wages add up to 3.74 million dirhams. Discounts and reduction in consumption will lead to a fall in revenue of 6 million dirhams. Installation cost for the gravity energy storage system will have an annual cost of 7 million dirhams for 8 units, as well as maintenance costs totaling up to 40,000 dirhams, giving us a net income of 15.2 million dirhams. After 4 years, the installations of gravity energy storage systems will come to a halt, thus increasing the net income to 22.2 million dirhams annually.
Thank you, team. Well done, team. Our next team of finalists for today is Team Brown Cartel from GEMS Wellington Academy, Dubai Silicon Oasis. Team, you may begin. Team Brown Cartel, you may begin.
I can't
No,
share my
unless we're just
screen.
trying to share the screen right now.
Hello?
We're just trying to share the screen right now.
All right. We can see the screen now.
Okay, hi. This is Brown Cartel's case study 4. So DEWA is a public service infrastructure company owned by the government that manages and distributes electricity and water to Dubai. There's been a drastic increase in water and electricity consumption among Dubai households within the last few years. Knowing this, DEWA and the government face a dilemma in that they must lower this immense usage of resources while at the same time maintaining the livelihood, lifestyle, and well-being of their customers. Our idea revolves around an app based on an algorithm that converts the electricity and water used by each appliance to dirhams in real time and shows this either daily, weekly, or monthly cost. This idea helps individuals psychologically as they would be more cautious if they were to be visually shown the amount of electricity and water consumed. Additionally, inspired by Apple's Screen Time, the app would assist in the identification of which appliance contributes to higher electricity or water bills by showing the electricity or water usage of each device and appliance. This feature would give the user a better understanding on again finding out which appliance and device to use less to save on electricity and water bills. This type of knowledge coming from the app would give consumers more control of their behavior and in turn potentially start looking for ways to reduce consumption in order to not only reduce bills but actually be rewarded for it too. As an incentive for people to consume less water, a reward plan can also be put into place as by using the algorithm, people saving over 25% more can be identified. Companies like MAP and Imar wanting to improve their CSR can then support us through gift cards and other rewards to use for their reward program. This would help not only DEWA but also MAP and Imar increasing their brand image and recognition in the UAE.
We require subsidies from the government to make this idea feasible, but with the current pandemic, the government may be focused on improving healthcare, rebuilding the economy, and may not see lowering electricity and water consumption as a priority, and they may be faced with an opportunity cost. At the moment, the government is already low on funds, so it may choose to focus on more important sectors. However, it can also be argued that at a time when the quarantining is the norm, a reduction in electricity and water usage would be combating a significant issue, which is pollution. This idea is in line with UAE sustainability targets, as it's always pushing for sustainability, which means if they do decide to fund us, it would help them achieve their own targets as well as boost the overall global image of the UAE. From an economical viewpoint, the main issue that arises due to the current pandemic in the UAE is that UAE residents are likely to increase DEWA costs as more residents are staying home. The UAE is currently experiencing an economic downturn, which means residents are likely to face difficulties when paying for their DEWA bills. This means DEWA is likely to have outstanding bills and is not able to spend on more research and development to make its processes even more sustainable. Currently, Emiratis receive subsidies from the government and therefore their motivation to reduce consumption is not much. However, if they start getting an additional benefit, if they reduce consumption, they might become more interested in reducing their bill, especially the less affluent ones. Typically, people need incentives in order to stop a bad habit, for example, using excessive amounts of energy. So we have taken the psychological trait and incorporated it into our solution. The incentive people receive for using 30% less energy than the month prior is the discount on their DEWA bill for the following month. The discounted DEWA bill will be the initial incentive, causing consumers to be more inclined to reduce their energy usage. However, once their usage does lower and they have maintained this lower average, they will not receive any further discounts due to the usage in the month prior having decreased already. Moreover, the consumers will begin to realize that they are able to survive on a lower usage and simultaneously decrease their DEWA bill. They are more likely to use it to sustain this lifestyle. Furthermore, negative environmental effects such as pollution will be decreased in the long term as well as the short term.
In terms of technology, recently algorithms are increasing in popularity within large firms as they're able to handle data and analyze it, something humans cannot do to the same level of accuracy and efficiency. Machine learning has advanced, so therefore utilizing algorithms and incorporating them effectively renders our idea feasible, scalable, and implementable. Thus, we would like to propose an app based on algorithms in order to give users of DEWA a live stream of their usage, further adding a rewards plan as an incentive to reduce consumption of energy. Due to our idea, people might switch to energy efficient appliances, which use high amounts of technology, and in the long term, these appliance companies may be pushed to further innovate and become more efficient to meet the demands of the UAE market. In terms of environmental, we require large data servers to store consumer data regarding the usage of water and electricity. These data servers negatively affect the environment in that they have a substantial amount of carbon emissions, which contributes to air pollution. This then results to increase in global warming, which may be seen as hypocritical of the UAE compared to the government and its sustainability priorities. Data servers generate a lot of heat, and to cool it down, we need air conditioning, resulting in even more CO2 emissions. But our program encourages people to lower their electricity and water consumptions, which mitigates the overall effect, especially in the long term, which helps balance the effect on the environment. From a legal standpoint, DEWA follows strict data protection protocols to ensure that customer bills and data and electricity consumption is not sold or made public knowledge. We also have to follow these protocols and inform tenants what we are using the data for, and if they do not support it, they can opt out. The impacts legally would help DEWA as they would not be filed lawsuits on false bills and other issues that tenants may raise, because tenants themselves can see how much energy they consume and how it translates to money. As well as an algorithm, it may make some wrong calculation and give a bill well below average or well above average. And to avoid legal discrepancies, we have the previous methods used to calculate bills to validate a proper bill. So legally, we are protecting DEWA and our interests.
Furthermore, our algorithm uses the past 12 to 15 months of bills of every household and calculates the average bill. With the use of the algorithm, a list can be made of each household usage average and how much they increased or decreased each month in the future. It helps identify people who have saved over 25% on their consumption and also identifies who has to pay extra interest on their bills who have used 25% more than the average bill.
So in terms of big data, in terms of variety first, we collect customer electricity and water bills over 12 proper running months to ignore anomalies such as vacations. We also collect which appliances is being used and how much electricity or water consumption each appliance actually has. We need to then calculate the electricity and water consumption, details of which appliance is ringing up the electricity bills, and then doing calculations on the data to determine the value needed to benefit from the rewards program. We're also calculating electricity consumption of appliances and that we convert watts of powers into dirhams live through the algorithm. In terms of velocity, we are working in conjunction with DEWA. So we have access to customer bills to get the average, which means that it's very convenient to implement the rewards program and imposing fees. However, it would be time consuming to access this data as we would need the energy consumption of millions of different appliances and find how expensive it is to operate these appliances per day to make the live conversion algorithm. In terms of veracity, we are really leaning towards conformity and people following their friends to implement a more environmentally conscious and healthy lifestyle. So if people see their friends or family reducing energy consumption and getting rewards, they may be more likely to adopt positive and greener habits. Finally, in terms of volume of data, DEWA collects over 3 million people's electricity and water consumption, and we're making use of this data to work out the 12-month averages. All of this data together ends up being a large volume of data, but it's very beneficial because it's already collected for us. And the averages that are used to benchmark the plus or minus 25% are used to give rewards and impose fees. However, to make the algorithm to do live conversions, we need to find the energy consumptions for millions of appliances, or at least a general overview of specific appliances like washing machines, irons, dryers, and toasters made by different companies such as LG, Philips, and Samsung, which means there's still a substantial volume of data that needs to be collected.
Our financial plan includes Maslow Entertainment and Mars sponsoring us to increase their CSR and improve their brand image. As a result, DEWA benefits through sponsoring. This will help generate revenue. Government subsidies will help break even as DEWA is a public corporation. Cost of making the algorithm will be high as it involves complex programming and professional development team. Cost of rewards program, where we give Mouth gift cards or Amar gift cards to consumers who save more than 30% from the normal average. Cost of data servers, however, not too many extra servers will be required as DEWA already stores all of this data, therefore not a very high cost. And the cost of maintenance of servers as there are chances of overheating and could destroy essential data.
This table shows the rough primary expenses that we'll face, our largest cost being a one-time cost of 3 million that we paid throughout the first year of implementation. We also have our income or revenue at the bottom, which is roughly 410,000 dirhams a month that comes from our public-private partnership just to cover our expenses. Using the data shown in the previous table, we made this rough break-even graph, which details our costs and expenses over the first 12 months of implementation. As shown in the graph, we expect to break even just after the 11th month, which demonstrates our objective of simply covering our expenses with the funding rather than trying to make a profit.
In terms of the algorithm, we will require a lot of data that will be expensive to collect as well as expensive labor to construct the algorithm. However, this makes economic sense as the majority of development will only take place once the app will allow users to make lifestyle changes based on the app's information. The algorithm will require more data to be collected than the rewards program because we need to know about millions of appliances, their environmental impact, and how much electricity and water they use. However, this data is readily available from each brand, and to make it easier, we may just take an average of each appliance from each brand, such as washing machines from Samsung, to save time and money. The data we use to gather the averages is already on the data servers, so it will be easy to calculate the moving averages. After these averages are collected, calculating 25% above and below should be relatively simple to implement into the algorithm. In terms of rewards, this offers an incentive for people to lower their energy consumption, such as free movie tickets, gift cards, and saving on massive businesses such as Carrefour, since they are part of the public-private partnership. Another reward that could be offered is a discounted monthly electricity or water bill. In terms of going over the bill, which is 25% over the average, consumers will have to pay an additional 10% on top of the original bill as tax. The rewards program may have to be revised if there are drastic improvements in the bill. For example, changing 25% to 35% discount. Apart from that, our proposed app as a whole is a very feasible to implement because the data analysis is easy to do, and collaborating with big companies should be feasible for a company of DEWA stature.
We spoke to Fadi Hindi, the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Innovation Officer at DEWA Innovation Division, to come up with some of the facts and figures.
Team, I'm going to have to cut you short. You're run out of time.
Yeah, that was it, miss.
Yeah, that was it.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Well done. Our next team for today is team The Wolves of Wall Street from Dubai International Academy.
Hi, we can't share screen when you're sharing screen, so could we?
You should be able to. You're given panelist status, so you should be able to share your screen now.
Now I can, yeah. Thank you.
Great.
Miss, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you.
Team, you all may begin.
Hi, I'm Raghav.
I'm Ahad.
I'm Jay.
I'm Ojas.
I'm Sean.
And we are the Wolves of Wall Street. In this presentation, we'll show you how DEWA can ride the big data waves to capitalize on the opportunity, increase its efficiency, and reduce its costs. So, starting off with our current situation, DEWA is pursuing the UAE Energy Strategy 2050 and the UAE Water Security Strategy 2036, both of which aim to improve its position in energy and water respectively. The main issues it's facing right now are an increasing electricity demand with mounting climate change pressure and rapidly increasing water scarcity in Dubai and the UAE. Our recommendation to address these issues is to harness the data waves in the seas of Dubai. We'll do this by harnessing wave energy and by optimizing desalination plants. And as you can see with the figures at the bottom, these will have huge impacts for DEWA.
As you can see on the left and in the center, we have looked into these two issues in more depth, with a few key takeaways on the right. Firstly, energy and water consumption in the UAE will continue to increase. Global temperatures will rise and non-renewable energy sources continue to be exploited. Desalination plants will become increasingly important in maintaining water supplies, and concurrent strides in energy supplies will need to be made in order to keep up with the rising demand for water. Now, before settling on a solution, we considered a few alternatives. Some weren't feasible, such as advertising sustainability advice, monitoring home systems, and suggestions for consumers. Some did have some merit, such as solar panel incentives, improvements for the pre-existing smart grid, and classifying infrastructure. We ended up selecting two viable solutions, harnessing wave energy and the optimization of desalination plants, all using big data.
By riding the wave of big data, it holds untapped potential for DEWA. We'll do this by having a network of data collecting sensors in the shores near Dubai. We'll collect real-time information of trends about current, flow rate, salinity, and more of water conditions down to milliseconds, and will analyze terabytes of data to optimize potential wave power generation and water desalination.
Seeing the consistent descent of non-renewable energy sources, our team proposes building upon wave energy power plants for electricity generation and supply. With its high energy supply, cost effectiveness, and long lifespan, wave power plays as an extremely viable solution to DEWA's renewable energy needs. As you can see in the middle, our strategy entails analyzing various data points in the sea present with existing geological infrastructure, analyzing data, and optimizing the location and placement of wave power farms on Dubai's coastline, allowing for greater efficiency and power output. According to recent studies, optimization through big data greatly increases effectiveness and its impact on the environment, maximizing capital utilization. As you can see on the right, the advantages of the proposed solution stand much ahead of existing infrastructure.
By riding the waves of big data, DEWA can optimize its desalination plants. We will do this by harnessing big data to find annual variations in seawater conditions to optimize plant efficiency. First, we will collect and collate terabytes of big data. Then we will analyze the data to find seawater conditions. Third, we will change the membrane conditions and plant conditions to optimize efficiency. And four, DEWA will have a cheaper cost of production and increased margins. As you can see on the top right, it is a case study of how desalination is now. It is expensive and inefficient, and a high amount of energy is needed to push water through the filters. Our solution solves that by making this process incredibly efficient. And as you can see in the impacts below, we will make water 35% cheaper than conventional desalinated water. We'll use 75% less energy, and we predict a $700 million profit by FY 2030.
Here we have the implementation of big data with our solution. On the left for electricity, our primary data points include shoreline characteristics, wave direction, amplitude, salinity, viscosity, dissolved oxygen measurements, and more, as well as their impact on the electrical grid. This can be collected through wave voice sensors in the sea that include accelerometers, pressure, and temperature sensors. Through curation of such data with complex algorithms and scientific applications, the efficiency of the components in wave power farms that include terminators, attenuators, and point absorbers can be optimized in wave power plants. For desalination, tracking such data points allows management of water pumps, flow meters, pipelines, and membranes for the life cycles, energy efficiency, and logistics. And as you can see on the right, the data collected passes through these steps in order to be utilized to its maximum in this solution.
4 V's of data act as a guiding point towards the development of such systems, and all 4 points have been met with utmost importance while implementing the solution. The velocity of data is extremely high, since data points can collect information within milliseconds, allowing for time-efficient data curation. Data variety is also extremely high, since structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data points are already prevalent with the government. This allows for high veracity due to its high reliability. And lastly, the volume of data is immense, since historical storage as well as high veracity and velocity allow large volumes of records.
Now I know what you're thinking after all of that qualitative analysis. Show me the money. Well, our recommendations have a high monetization potential, and a key thing to note is that all our numbers are in millions USD. As you can see on the top right, our costs incurred are from the initial investment into wave power generators, the cost of sensors plus algorithm development, and the new operation costs of the desalination plants. Our revenue streams will be from the sale of desalinated water and the sale of electricity. As you can see on the left, a high upfront investment is needed, but we reach break even in about a year because our revenues increase exponentially, and as do our costs decrease exponentially in the long run. And as you can see in the bottom right, this has a massive impact on our profits. Apart from this is the positive externalities that are generated, which are limitless, much like the big data that powers this solution.
Now, before concluding, it is important to understand the larger implication of the solution. Politically, the solution creates positive press for DEWA, and by extension, the UAE government, making it a driver of the solution. However, because of how much the UAE relies on fossil fuels, political ties with other countries may become weaker, a constraint on the solution. Economically, lowered energy costs will result in lower cost of production for all industries, leading to an increase in aggregate supply, a driver of the solution. Despite that, it may act as a constraint, as it will take away from the oil industry, which is a primary economic industry in the UAE. Socially, the solution allows for better living conditions due to the cheaper and more widely available water and energy, therefore, a driver of the solution. It is a constraint too, as there will be unemployment within the oil industry, leading to these workers being worse off. Technologically, the solution helps as it taps into unused data, allowing it to be applied elsewhere, therefore acting as a driver. On the other hand, R&D costs may be high and technologically demanding, therefore acting as a constraint. Environmentally, the solution minimizes fossil fuel usage and leads to DEWA having a lower net carbon footprint, therefore it is a driver. It can be a constraint, however, as the production of desalination and energy plants will require natural resources to be exploited. Now, legally, it is a driver, as the solution mitigates the risk of the UAE violating international climate law. On the other hand, there can potentially be legal challenges in securing offshore development sites, therefore acting as a constraint.
Now it's time for our version of the cost-benefit analysis, the SWOTer. As responsible consultants, we feel we should not only show DEWA the barriers to entry, but how we're going to overcome them. Our key strengths are that we lower production costs significantly. Our key weakness is that there's a requirement for a high upfront investment. Our key opportunity is that we're creating a new way to desalinate. Our key threat is that competitors can copy us. Now, the central thing that ties these things together is risk mitigation, and we'll do this by ensuring sufficient R&D investment for the speed to market plan and by reevaluating these plans in the long term.
In conclusion, we've addressed each of our key issues through big data. By harnessing wave power, we've addressed Dubai's energy needs. By optimizing desalination plants, we've addressed the water scarcity issue. Along with these, our recommendations can bring DEWA a profit of over 1.3 billion AED in the next 5 years. With our recommendations, DEWA can truly surf the big data waves to success. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, team Wolves of Wall Street. Well done. Our next team for today is FFF from Dubai College. Team FFF, you may present.
The screen share's not letting us.
Okay, could you please try again now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you might want to put off your speaker because I think you're echoing with your own audio.
Hello and good morning, fellow finalists and respected judges. Firstly, we wanted to congratulate all the other teams for making it to the finals and also wish them good luck, as well as take a minute to thank the BCC team for supporting us and guiding us in the competition so far. That being said, we present to you our final pitch, Akhtar DEWA.
As of 2019, Bloomberg has officially ranked the UAE amongst the top 10 countries in the world most at risk from facing a water crisis. It is no surprise that the UAE is one of the most water-scarce countries in the world, along with some of the highest per capita consumption of electricity worldwide. Through research, we found out that the industrial commercial sector and private sector contributes the most to overconsumption, accounting for more than half of all energy and water consumption nationwide. And so we decided to focus on firms and households. For this, we propose a plan to map DEWA and an app, which my teammates will go further into. Through our implementations listed above, we plan to align with the government of Dubai and DEWA's aims.
As many of you know, in April 2015, the Dubai government launched the Makani System website, which allows anyone to locate buildings easily. Additionally, ETAP is a geographic information software that can track the electricity transmission and water system across Dubai. Partnered with ETAP and Makani, we feel that DEWA could decrease water and electricity consumption. Firstly, the map can be used to track the age of water and electrical systems to anticipate when parts may need replacement, such as broken pipes. The same applies for an electrical unit, which if replaced before it becomes less efficient can save large amounts of costly energy. Running an old model can consume about 66% more energy than a newer model, leading to higher costs for consumers and firms. Through the use of big data, DEWA can predict demand and adjust how many generators are required and what the output should be. For example, during night hours, more electricity would be demanded from airports than households, therefore DEWA would adjust generators to provide power accordingly. Energy is also often dissipated when being transmitted through electrical lines. Our machine learning algorithm will calculate what the most efficient route from the generator to the client and will also suggest new transmission lines which could be built for a more efficient energy transmission in the long run.
Our focal idea is to provide an extension onto DEWA's pre-existing app, a traffic light system. The UAE is home to the world's largest solar farm. Big data will be used to calculate the most efficient times to use electricity based on how much energy is being generated from these solar farms, as well as which hours are considered to be off-peak. We will derive this information using the demand calculated from our map. Our easy interface will display the green light to indicate when DEWA has the lowest carbon intensity generation and a red light to indicate when it has the highest, as well as an amber light to indicate average levels of carbon intensity. Not only is it more environmentally friendly to switch on high energy consuming machines during the green periods, but we would offer a price incentive as well. By lowering prices during the green hours, consumers will plan their electricity usage and maximize their benefit. Using the already available energy consumption data and our algorithm, we will calculate a carbon footprint of every household and the price it would cost to offset it. At the end of a consumer's monthly bill, we would provide them with the option to pay an extra price to offset their carbon production. DEWA can use this money to buy carbon credits or engage in more products that will remove carbon from the atmosphere. DEWA has done this in the past based on the Kyoto Protocol and the UN framework on climate change, and therefore we suggest giving individuals the option to offset their own carbon footprint.
The industrial sector in Dubai also massively contributes to water and electricity overconsumption. And so for firms, we propose an app, much like our plan for consumers. The app would follow a traffic light system as well. encouraging firms to be more conscious of their water and electricity usage. Along with the app, we would implement an individualized slab pricing system where we would separate watts of electricity and liters of water into brackets. Let's take Dan, for example. If Dan's firm uses 19,999 watts of electricity one day, then he would fit into bracket A. If he used 20,000 watts of electricity another, he would fit into bracket B and would subsequently be charged more. Because of the rise in price here, Dan would be incentivized to save electricity and reduce his cost of production. Additionally, if Dan's firm uses 600,000 watts in a month, then the next month, using big data, DEWA would send out a notification through the app stating that if he reduces consumption by 2% this month, for example, then he would receive a discount. This is another example of a price incentive which would encourage Dan, along with other firms and consumers, to reduce their electricity consumption. We would also implement a certification system. If we feel that a firm has met published guidelines, they would receive an UKTR DEWA certificate that would allow firms to be officially validated as environmentally conscious. This better brand image is likely to attract more customers and increase firms' total revenue. We predict that the implementation of this system for both firms and the consumers mentioned earlier will decrease energy overconsumption by 20% in Dubai, thus leading to a 20% decrease in carbon emissions as well.
Our threefold plan incurs various costs to DEWA. These are shown in detail in the tables on the current slides. Firstly, we expect the mapping DEWA project to total to 1,154,550 dirhams in the first year. This is split between the setup of the map and the updating of the map for a year. Additionally, to develop the app extensions, DEWA sustains a cost of 598,240 dirhams in the first year, split between setup and maintenance post-deployment. Moving on to the benefits DEWA will experience if they choose to implement our system. As mentioned by my teammates previously, our system has multiple benefits to both consumers and firms. This occurs through lowering utility costs and costs of production, hence increasing living standards and retained profits. In fact, a well-run energy management system akin to ours can save from 3 to 10% in energy costs. More importantly, as a government entity, DEWA aims to ensure the availability of stable energy in the long run. This is achieved by effective load management through the traffic light system. The use of time price schemes reduces high demand peaks by 5 to 20%, as per a study conducted in 2007. This means that there is a 5 to 20% reduction in the wastage of energy that can now be used by alternate consumers or producers at another time, hereby stimulating other parts of the economy. In theory, for the same quantity of energy, more output is possible without the cost of investing into new capital, contributing to economic growth as a macroeconomic objective. Moreover, specifically allowing DEWA to save money, the overall 20% reduction in energy overconsumption will lead to lower utilization of energy generation resources, leading to the increase in the lifetime of infrastructure through the preservation of the capital's quality. Not only would this reduce the maintenance costs and therefore maintenance downtime, but also reduce the likeliness of faulty generators in the grid, hence reducing replacement, which costs DEWA money. Finally, the reduction in negative externalities into society is reduced. As per the UAE's participation in the Paris Accord and DEWA's sustainable values, it is clear that a system expected to reduce carbon emissions and overconsumption of energy by 20% is in the interest of the entity, benefiting them substantially.
As our scheme encourages reduced energy use, it aligns with the government's key macroeconomic objective of protecting the environment. UAE is one of the many countries who have signed the Paris Accord. However, they've been rated as highly insufficient in their environmental policies. This new implementation will help them not exceed their carbon limit for the year and would also improve their global image. In the long run, our implementation will mitigate the consequences of climate change. UAE is notoriously vulnerable to rising sea levels, especially in areas like the Palm. By reducing carbon emissions, governments can spend less of their budget tackling these types of issues. Finally, by focusing on solar power, we are helping preserve scarce resources such as fossil fuels and water. DEWA's UKTR certification should allow firms to boost their brand image. This in turn should bring them more consumers and increase their total revenue. Firms are profit maximizers. This system should allow them to lower their cost of production, leaving greater retained profits that can be further used for investment. Consumers utilizing our app can also maximize benefit. They, in theory, should be able to save more. Their extra disposable income can be spent elsewhere, thus increasing consumption in the economy. Furthermore, with increased disposable income, general standards of living should improve as well. The main social benefit, however, is the simple interface we will provide consumers and firms with to reduce their costs with ease. Many studies have shown that a cleaner environment is also linked to well-being of the population. Higher pollution is said to have negative effects on a population's health. As well as physical well-being, a cleaner environment also is correlated with positive mental well-being. The interactive wheel of happiness takes factors such as level of pollution and renewable energy sources into account when determining their happiness ranking. Therefore, reduction of carbon emissions may even lead to a happier UAE. Many consumers these days are becoming more selective at brands they decide to buy from. The UKTR DEWA certification also allows consumers to make more informed decisions.
No new data needs to be collected for our idea. All the data already exists and just need to be collated and run through an algorithm to find the values. Our mapping system will utilize this technology to increase the efficiency of DEWA's process and help prevent problems that may occur in the future. Our machine learning algorithm will make calculations far more accurate and far faster than any human can do, thus further increasing efficiency. The environmental impacts of this project will be astronomical. As stated by my fellow team members, we expect to decrease energy overconsumption by 20%. All data collated by us is confidential, so no privacy concerns should arise. As opposed to the implementation of a tax or a sanction, our scheme is more of a carrot rather than a stick, and as the use of the app is not mandatory, consumers and firms should feel no animosity, but instead feel incentivized themselves to use the app.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. As Stuart Uddle says, plans to protect air and water, wilderness and wildlife are in fact plans to protect man. Good luck to the rest of the teams.
Thank you, Team FFF. Well done. Our next team for today is Team Analytical Nautical from Cambridge International School. Team, you may present.
Good morning, judges and fellow audience. The 21st century has witnessed the emergence of some of the most remarkable advancements in the field of technology. These advancements have heavily aided in the process of the modern society, but only with the rapid decline in our resources being an unintended consequence. While these advancements have made our lives easier, they have only increased the urgency of sustainability. The Dubai Electricity and Water Authorities is no stranger to this necessity. In this era of making the best of what we have, our team, Team Analytical Noticia, have developed a three-part solution for the conservation of power and water, along with ensuring its efficient distribution. With the use of wireless sensor networks, in order to collect data, addition of features to the DEWA app, using the collected data and distributed energy resources to efficiently manage power, our team has devised a remedy for the problem at hand.
The first part of our solution includes the usage of wireless sensor networks in association with the MR-leach algorithm in order to detect the amount of energy consumed. This collected data is relayed to a small database for a specific area of Dubai, which in turn is linked to a larger database accessible by DEWA. It is common knowledge that DEWA is, in fact, aware of the amount of energy and water consumed by each household. However, it is often not given great significance. In order to conserve energy, DEWA can set a threshold on the amount of energy that can be consumed using their previously collected data. This threshold can be set at about 25% more than the average usage per capita per sector, giving consumers, including industries, manufacturers, and residents, a comfortable buffer. However, the success of the proposed system lies in the application of the data collected by the wireless sensor networks. The first method is the usage of positive and negative reinforcement. This method involves categorizing the units based on the amount of power they require and then dividing them based on the amount that they are using. These units can be further divided into green units, which are well within the boundary, safe units, which are fairly within the boundary, and red units, which are well over the threshold. Here, positive reinforcement is providing incentives to green units, such as discounts on electricity bills or vouchers for shopping items. The negative reinforcement includes an initial warning in the first instance of crossing the boundary. However, the following instances will be treated to an additional payment in correspondence with the amount of power exceeded by. The second method involves the application of the nudge theory in adaptation from a research conducted in Mumbai. This involves letting other users know about the number of greenhouses in their area, which in turn motivates them to move towards being a greenhouse. However, our team has also considered the exceptions to our conditions, such as senior citizens or the differently abled who may just need to use more power. To further understand the proposed system, let us consider the following four units: A, B, C, and D. And let us assume that the threshold on the amount of power is 10,000 kilowatts. Here, A is a residence for a family of 4. B is also a residence, but they house senior citizens. C is a small business, whereas D is a residence for a family of 5. Here, the amount of power used by each unit is 12,000, 13,000, 12,500, and 7,000 kilowatts respectively. We can see that units B and C are considered safe even though they are well over the threshold, as they have special exceptions. We can also see that Unit A is a red unit, whereas Unit D is a green unit. The only unit subject to an additional payment is Unit A, as this is the only unit that uses more power than they require. The user interface between the consumers and DEWA will be expanded upon by Krish in the upcoming part of the solution.
With the previous mentioned system, a customer would find it hard to know how much his monthly threshold is. Is he within it or is he exceeding it? Which is why we plan on adding some new features in the DEWA app, using the system to find a threshold per apartment, which will then be shown on the user's app to see how much electricity and water he has used. In addition to this, a user can also see how many benefits the user has gotten from DEWA through Smiles points or be informed about any additional payments. You may ask, what about businesses, senior citizens, or people with medical conditions? In order to address the problem of the previously mentioned exceptions, this additional feature of the DEWA app would allow people and businesses to apply for a larger threshold of power and water consumption. All applications will be reviewed by DEWA in relation to the already existing database of residents and citizens and the electronic health records obtained from the applicant. Now, to explain the last part of our solution, Uday Kumar.
In our final leg of our proposed solution, we have come up with a way to minimize consumption by using a DER system. DER, also known as Distributed Energy Resources, refers to the use of decentralized electric systems by simplifying the power that is available to businesses and households by using renewable resources such as wind turbines and solar panels. With this idea in mind, the implementation of big data would regard the use of microgrids and smart meters, where in the case of certain manufacturing businesses and households being located in remote areas that face several power outages. In order to minimize this, we have created the solution where businesses and households would be able to have more access through the generation of solar panels, wind turbines, inbuilt thermal batteries, and other inbuilt temperature units. With the further analysis, smart meters would be needed to monitor the electricity usage, which would be sent by signals from the DEWA app as a notification. Good morning. This is Uday Kumar Prani from Team Analytical Noticia. While proceeding to the last part of our presentation, we have the cost-benefit analysis. By taking into consideration all our technologies, we have our financial benefits corresponding to the minimization of power generation, improved business productivity, and the reduction of power consumption to consumers and businesses. This would be shown by the total reduction in utility bills such as water and power. Our benefits on an average would amount up to AED 1.5 million to 2 million. Our total costs, furthermore, would contain the implementation of our device solution amounting to an approximate of AED 1.7 million.
Now moving into the financial aspect of our solution, we have divided it into two parts, the gross margin area and the cost-benefit analysis. Coming into the gross margin area, as seen in the information provided, there has been a 30% decrease in revenue. Why? Due to COVID-19 and going under lockdown, there has been a negative impact on the economy. Therefore, the Dubai government decided to decrease 10% of electricity and water bills. Assuming a 10% decrease in cost of sales due to the reduction in revenue, we calculated the gross margin and saw a decrease when compared to 2019. Now, this is bound to happen due to world pandemic. Now, this is going to be a conclusion for the financial plan. Thank you.
For our proposed solution, the political impact will not be significant since UAE's governing body operates as a constitutional monarchy. The environmental impact will consist of reducing carbon dioxide emissions and global warming, avoiding the depletion of key resources, and aiming towards a more sustainable future. Implementing technologies such as distributed energy resources will maximize the use of renewable resources and minimize electricity usage by 45%. Our device solution will maximize social benefits since with the use of smart meters, there will be higher access to utility bills, which will cause lower customer complaints and further improve the standard of living with the emergence of better access to fresh air and fewer cases of damaged respiratory systems. The technological influence is that the wireless sensor networks will control and conserve water using MapReduce. Alterations to the DEWA app will make the app more customer friendly and help with tracking fines and making monthly payments. With a smart grid in place, there will be faster transmission of electricity and the grid will respond digitally to quickly changing demand for electricity and water. It also supports the grid integration of large scale renewable resources. The economical impact is that the key advantage offered by smart grids is that bills are more accurate. They will reflect the real consumption each month instead of estimates, reducing the cost of the outdated systems of traditional meter readings. The legal impact is that the government could place legislation for using such resource efficient businesses as this would promote sustainable growth. By proposing a new solution, we would have to obtain permission from the government so that the authority will be passed on to DEWA. Our solution will therefore take a long time to be approved.
In conclusion, through the usage of wireless sensor networks, addition of features to the DEWA app, to maintain an interface between the consumers and DEWA, and by using a system of distributed energy resources to efficiently manage our power, Team Analytical Nautical is confident in its proposed solutions' ability to resolve the problem. All in all, we would like to express our gratitude to our members, friends, and Curtin University for providing us with this opportunity to express our ideas. And it is also our honor to present our solutions in the presence of this panel.
Thank you, Team Analytical Nautical. Well done. We will now take a short 15-minute break before proceeding with the next round of presentations. Thank you. We will now proceed with the presentation of our seventh finalist on the leaderboard. Team Big Data Analyzers from GEMS Wellington International School, Dubai. You may begin your presentation.
I'm just trying to share the screen. It's not letting me share at the moment.
You could just try it in a minute. You could try it now.
Yeah, perfect. It's sharing.
Great.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. We are Team Big Data Analyzers, and today we will be talking to you about our solution for case study number 4. We have devised a system which begins with the acquirement and usage of big data. Wait, can I stop and restart? I cannot see my full presentation due to the cameras on the side. Okay, yeah. Can I restart, please?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much. All right. Hello, everyone. We are Team Big Data Analyzers, and today we'll be talking to you about our solution for case study number 4. We have devised a system which begins with the acquirement and usage of big data. DEWA will conduct analytical research using satellite imagery and smart meters in order to calculate both electricity consumption and deforestation caused by the fuels and chemicals used within current conventional electricity generators and provision. DEWA will also determine pollution levels within Dubai through utilizing this analytical data in order to form danger maps, which highlight areas that are both affected by and vulnerable to any type of pollution. DEWA will utilize satellite imagery, precipitation sensors, water consumption sensors, and weather data analysis in order to simultaneously monitor water sources and consumption in Dubai. Through the use of these tools, DEWA can measure water-related hazards as well as analyze water quality and consumption across Dubai. As a result, they can then establish key analytical data and provide interactive risk maps for the public, but more importantly, gain a better understanding of which areas to avoid supplying water to the public from in order to ensure all water supply is efficient within DEWA and consequently clean for all citizens. Through conducting this analytical research, DEWA can gain a better understanding of this total level of pollution within Dubai, the main areas in danger, and most importantly, the particular causes of these harmful effects on the environment in regards to the current provision of electricity and water. Now, using renewable energy within the system. After conducting research and gathering analytical data regarding the current condition of the environment, DEWA can now use this data in order to provide alternative sources of energy accordingly, as well as ensure efficient water provision and conservation to minimize waste. DEWA will provide an option for citizens in Dubai whereby they can opt for solar energy in the form of solar panels, as opposed to the use of the current conventional electricity form, which uses several chemicals and gases, including coal and other fossil fuels. Solar panels connect and convert the sun's energy into power. Living in a country where 93.2% of its 365 days per year are officially deemed as sunny by weather analytics, this is an incredibly powerful and efficient investment. The decrease in conventional electricity usage and utilization of solar energy instead will lower costs both for DEWA and the consumers, while simultaneously benefiting the environment through the reduction of gas emissions and therefore minimizing pollution and deforestation. Some key elements within our system. Another implementation within the system in order to encourage the use of alternative energy is the unlimited provision of maintenance and follow-ups following the purchase of a single solar panel should a citizen request it. As well as this, using the big data previously collected, DEWA will offer maintenance based on the monitoring of water flow patterns using the water consumption sensors and the interactive risk maps provided for citizens in order to fix any water-originated troubles found within households and organizations immediately, therefore enabling DEWA to minimize the waste of water, ensure the attainment of revenue, and ultimately benefit the citizens as well as the environment simultaneously. DEWA will also replace street and infrastructure light bulbs within Dubai and instead use LED light bulbs, as they are both extremely energy efficient and contain the longest lifespan. As well as this, they are more cost effective. In association with the government, subsidies will be granted for organizations to encourage widespread solar panel usage. This will give firms within Dubai an incentive to invest in a cleaner energy source and ultimately help achieve the full potential of this comprehensive system. Some more key elements and benefits as we approach our complete pestle analysis later on. Solar panels are more cost effective, both for DEWA as an organization as well as for the citizens. They are only costly in regards to their initial price and setup. They are only paid for once and will not cost the citizens significantly beyond the initial purchase. Conventional electricity, on the other hand, is a monthly cost. As well as this, prices of coal, natural gas, and other fossil fuels are simultaneously going up. Consequently, conventional electricity costs have been rising. Due to this, citizens will benefit from using solar energy greatly as they will attain lower costs while simultaneously using a cleaner source of energy. DEWA will also benefit from this cost advantage as they will pay a lower amount for solar panels as opposed to conventional energy provision, ultimately enabling them to minimize costs and save money as an organization, while simultaneously helping the UAE reach its goal of providing 25% of its clean energy from clean sources by 2030 and 75% by 2050, much faster. Consumers will also benefit from an energy law found in almost all countries, including the UAE, which states that the marginal price of electricity changes as consumption rises. Large homes with large energy requirements often suffer from expensive energy bills when using conventional energy, therefore making the use of solar energy as part of this system extremely beneficial, as large homes in Dubai can now utilize the solar arrays and attain electricity while simultaneously offsetting and minimizing any high-cost marginal consumption. Now our pillars and what we aim to achieve within the system. Through this feasible and comprehensive system, DEWA aims to acquire analytical big data, utilize alternative energy sources, implement infrastructure lighting replacements, monitor water quality, ensure efficiency within water provision and usage through the use of water consumption sensors, as well as raise water consumption awareness via interactive consumer hazard maps in order to minimize pollution within the environment, as well as conserve water and electricity while simultaneously benefiting citizens and enabling them to maintain an enjoyable lifestyle. Now, in regards to our pestle analysis, you may have already realized that we have indeed discussed several benefits in regards to some pestle factors simply through discussing our actual system. However, now we will head into our direct pestle analysis.
In regards to the political factor, the implementation of a system which provides cleaner sources of water and electricity will benefit political parties within the UAE through improving political figures' reputations in Dubai, and in turn encouraging the energy democracy which enables these political figures to benefit their citizens in several ways. This will ultimately boost the positive recognition of the UAE government and political figures, potentially leading to improved strategic alliances and general trust attainment within the UAE.
For our economic aspect, our system's provision of renewable energy enables job creation, decreases unemployment within the economy through improvising the health of citizens, reducing death rates, and enabling a larger population which is willing and able to work. Consumer income within the economy will also increase as citizens will benefit from lower energy costs and in turn retain more money. Business activities will also be boosted via our system through the increase in consumer income, which consumers can then invest into the startup of a new firm or invest into the initiation of a new idea within an existing business in Dubai, ultimately enhancing business activity within the UAE.
In regards to the social factor, our system's primary goal of both reducing the usage of and the reliance on this type of non-renewable energy will decrease gas emissions and pollution, ultimately cleaning the air and environment within Dubai, and as a result, minimizing chances of lung cancer and other heart diseases otherwise caused by gas pollutants. Our system not only helps DEWA conserve electricity and water to save the environment, but it also contains a crucial benefit of improving the health of citizens across Dubai simultaneously.
For our technological aspect of the pestle analysis, solar energy has a lower cost and is renewable. Firms within Dubai, particularly those who both utilize and sell technological goods as well as resources, will benefit from implementing the solar energy aspect of our system. This is because they will benefit from lower electricity costs and bill expenses, therefore enabling them to instead utilize the money they save from shifting to solar energy and use it in order to develop and enhance their technological resources as well as technological goods in order to boost and further contribute to the advancement of technology in Dubai. This will increase technological innovation, maximize big data in regards to renewable energy, and ultimately provide scientific and technological incentives to further understand the anatomy of utilizing renewable energy here in Dubai.
Moving on to the environmental factor, as previously established, the most simple and direct benefit of our system is for the environment. This is because our system ensures the minimization of conventional electricity consumption and reduces the reliance on non-renewable energy, which in turn means that households and organizations will use less fossil fuels, chemicals, and gases. This will result in a significant decrease in pollution, gas emissions, and deforestation, and will help fight and reduce climate change within Dubai massively.
For our legal aspect, the UAE government places a limit on the amount of pollution a firm can initiate within its production processes and day-to-day activities. With the implementation of subsidies as well as the provision of an alternative form of energy via the solar energy system, DEWA can help encourage firms to utilize this cleaner and renewable source of energy, which in turn helps organizations abide by the legal restrictions against pollution simply through causing a significantly lower amount of pollution and instead utilizing a cleaner form of energy as much as possible.
In regards to our financial plan, we have created two tables which showcase our revenue streams and costs of implementing the system. We predict a significant increase in revenue following 2 years of the implementation. We have also created a break-even chart which highlights our break-even point relative to the number of units and time period, whereby we do expect total revenue to be equal to total cost in the form of a break-even point. We expect to break even within 1 year of implementing our system. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Team Big Data Analyzers. Well done. Our next finalist for today is Team Waynes from Dubai American Academy. Team, you may begin your presentation.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Hello, all. I'm Ananya from Team Waynes DAA along with Veda. First of all, we would like to thank Curtin University and DEWA for hosting this wonderful competition, and we'd also like to congratulate all the other teams. Using big data in the energy sector allows for one to manage all of the energy generating facilities collectively and dynamically with each other. In the energy sector, many systems are used simultaneously in tandem with each other, like the Facility Management System, FMS, which allows for administrative authorities to catch faults on the spot and thus plan the course of action for the rectification process immediately and more efficiently. Since one would gather data using sensors, it is important to have a digital solution to processing it. Developing a specialized AI engine based on the architecture already present in DEWA's tech suite will be highly beneficial to the efficiency of the processing of data. Sorry, Miss, our other team members are having problems with unmuting their mic.
All right. Do they have access as panelists here?
I'm just checking with them.
All right, we'll just pause the timer.
No, she's not panelist.
Okay, what is her name? If you could.
Veda.
All right. Okay, is that the only team member?
Yeah, unfortunately, our other team members had technical difficulties and weren't able to join.
All right, perfect. Can we proceed?
To continue, DEWA can create a data lake in a number of ways from the industrial, commercial, and retail consumers. It should use sensors in the electricity generation plants, water stations, electricity grid lines, water pipelines, etc. It should install smart meters across Dubai, which is an initiative that's already on its way, and should lure consumers into installing smart thermostats, which will give real-time information on electricity utilization, especially by air conditioners. DEWA must tie up with various consumer companies and have a strategy to collect data directly from consumer goods using the Internet of Things data. Furthermore, it should collect additional information on temperature, humidity, and usage during the time of day, etc. This data is heterogeneous, which means it's structured and unstructured and would be saved using physical infrastructures. A smart building generates about 250 gigabytes of data a day, and a single household smart meter can generate 400 megabytes of data a year.
The reliance on analytics using big data would be especially helpful during an emergency such as COVID-19. Since the operation is centralized and managed by data received from sensors, the human intervention is minimal. That is, there is no need for maintenance to check products or grids or to check the bills by visiting consumers to check the meter, and therefore operation can run smoothly even if it's managed from remote areas. DEWA can use big data in two different ways. One, to cut costs, and the second, to generate growth.
We have a cost reduction strategy. To begin with, we would optimize electricity generation and water station management. Predictions using big data would significantly reduce cost. DEWA should use all the big data analytics to predict the usage of power during the coming days and over the next few years. The latter can be accomplished by using big data to generate changing patterns of consumption and using predictive models to arrive at additional capacity needed. This predictability would enable it to plan sources of power generation, especially from renewable sources, since they get affected by the sunlight and wind pressure. DEWA can also use big data analytics to decide what source of energy to generate, wind energy, nuclear energy, etc., to use the cheapest source of energy. And similarly, the big data analytics of appropriate management of pumping station operation and reducing the capital cost involved in building storage facilities. Next, as for capital investments, big data would also help with asset management, which is the optimal usage, which can reduce the need for excess capacity while ensuring smooth operations and thus reducing capital cost. Next, for plant operations and maintenance, big data can help with planning of shutdown for plant maintenance using usage and wear and tear prediction, and thus result in a reduction in cost for inventory and wear and tear. For grid and water pipeline management, this information from sensors in the grid would help to capture large quantities of data, and big data can help to check leakages, predict wear and tear, and as a result, arrest wastage. And for consumers, DEWA has successfully introduced smart meters in various areas of Dubai. It should encourage consumers to use smart thermostats and tie up consumer durable companies using Internet of Things, which collects data. This is an important piece of data since a majority of water and electricity consumption is in commercial and residential units. And there's also statistics available that suggest that big data can reduce the cost of a utility company by up to 15%.
We also have a growth strategy. That includes facility management, which is where DEWA should venture into facility management businesses, and DEWA can, with the help of smart thermostats and IoT, do facility management remotely and proactively. It can use big data and sensors to predict wear and tear, leakages, etc. Meanwhile, it can use in-house expertise to create a division of the company that can visit the offices and residential plots to analyze issues on mechanical, electrical, pumping, etc. issues that can't be addressed remotely. This way, DEWA is providing solutions across the verticals, that is, the generation, distribution, and maintenance. As for consultation and development of in-house systems, according to the US Environmental Protection Agency, the average commercial building wastes 30% of the energy it consumes. For example, software giant Microsoft was able to slash its energy budget by 1.5 billion US dollars by simply utilizing big data to better manage its power consumption. It should develop a facility management system, FMS, in-house and use the expertise it has built by using big data to provide consultation to corporations and utilities across the Middle East region to reduce power bills for corporations, power bills for corporations and reduce costs for utilities. BMS will detect the problems and prioritize maintenance in areas which need urgent fixing and of faults. Power exchange. With major GCC governments going through reforms of the power and water sector, that is, removing the subsidiaries, the GCC interconnector project could become a reality soon. DEWA should take leadership in building a power exchange, which would be an asset-light business and provides clearing facilities as well. So as for going the next mile, through analytics and through its application, DEWA allows customers to compare their consumption month on month and an year-on-year basis, including comparison with their neighborhood consumers. Our system would enable DEWA to go the next mile by using further analytics to perform root cause and trend analysis on top reason for leakages and like extra consumption beyond DEWA's already supply in place. That is inside the apartments, villas, factories, etc. DEWA could also provide on-demand fee based on the services that they apply with quick diagnostics and recommendations to customers based on specific community analysis that could then proactively be used to significantly reduce the overall consumption or instances of leakages, even on the customer side. Following on, our system plans to use efficient data analytic companies like Moro to forecast energy consumption and power generation of both the UAE as a whole, as well as individual private entities that require high energy level seal profits.
Let's move on to our pestle analysis. For political analysis, the political environment present in Dubai is extremely supportive and poses an opportunity for DEWA. Dubai has seen an extremely stable political environment, which poses as precedents for DEWA to have shown a positive influence on energy consumption. In addition, the government in Dubai has initiated a green fund, which provides loans for investors in the clean energy sector at reduced interest rates, a clear indicator of the opportunity the political environment presents. Our proposal would help DEWA support the Dubai Clean Energy Strategy 2050. As for economics analysis, it is important to know that DEWA, representing the UAE, has ranked first in getting electricity, as per a report by World Bank, which measures the ease of doing business in 190 economies worldwide. And DEWA has topped categories such as reliability and transparency of tariffs. In addition, DEWA has reduced a one-step process for new customers of gaining up to 150 kilowatts of electricity to 5 days. And not only that, but DEWA has also been ranked the fastest in the world for getting electricity. All of this aggregates to create an environment where it's easier to conduct business, and this encourages consumer spending as well as investments. Also, it's important to note that energy consumption in the UAE has a direct correlation with GDP. And considering the fact that the government considers the GDP growth rate to be 3 to 5% over the next 10 years, the electricity consumption growth rate should be around 4% per annum, as that is a historical correlation. And our suggestions on cost reductions will reduce the cost of DEWA by 15%, accordingly increasing the profit margin. Furthermore, the initiatives will lead to job creation and further stimulate the economy. As for social analysis, our ideas support DEWA's central pillars, committing to governance, work ethic, as well as corporate social responsibility. In addition, the UAE is supporting the demographic changes by already creating 1,100 green job opportunities, and our plan would just accelerate that. To add to their corporate social responsibility, DEWA has initiatives to promote environmental awareness and support people of determination. Lastly, to reflect their environmental awareness, DEWA is one of only 55 electricity organizations worldwide to show a sustainability report in accordance with GRI G4 guidelines. DEWA's omnipresence in the environmental campaigning area builds up an audience of consumers and investors that are intrigued by investing in more environmentally efficient systems, which creates yet another opportunity.
As for the technological, DEWA is leading the way by collecting big data and utilizing AI and machine learning through the use of Moro. Our suggestions will accelerate DEWA's ambition to be digital and technologically advanced. The existing big data systems present in DEWA present a great opportunity for our team in terms of financial costs. As the initial cost of setting up the system is significantly minimized, making our solution the optimal one. As for environment, the UAE relies on power plants fueled by petrochemical products and natural gas to provide 75% of its overall electric output. The Dubai Clean Energy Strategy 2050 has set targets for 7% of clean energy in the generation mix by 2020, 25% by 2030, and 75% by 2050. DEWA plays an essential role in achieving these.
Sorry, your time's up. I'm going to have to cut you short. You've completed your 10 minutes.
All right, can we quickly conclude then?
Sure.
All right, so moving on to our cost-benefit analysis, the total estimated cost for big data implementation for DEWA comes to about $2.75 million. When assessing the effect of big data implementation on a similar scale on firms around the world, one can clearly see that the implementation like such has almost always yielded a positive cost-to-benefit ratio. An implementation of such a system would result in 35% higher profits due to cost-effective techniques used within this comprehensive system to manage electricity and water more efficiently, and we would predict a 0.73 increase in GDP starting from the year of implementation. So our system's predictive analysis would result in DEWA's energy efficiency significantly improving and hence reducing the budget by approximately $7.7 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Baines. Well done. Our next team for today is Team Pera Squad from Raffles International School. Team, you may begin.
I'm trying to share my screen, but it's not letting me.
You should be able to
never
do
mind.
that now.
It is now up. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning. Our proposal to DEWA is for them to create an energy optimization platform and data monetization called moren.io. Moren stands for more energy. Moren.io has 5 purposes: to record, review, recommend, reward, and repeat. Let's look at some of the facts. Dubai is the 3rd most expensive city in the Middle East. They have rising costs, as before COVID, their inflation was at 3%, and now currently it is 4% and forecasted to raise to 8%. Now, regarding housing, couples pay 25% of their income on living, and families pay 50% of their income on living. 30% of this is attributed to utilities regarding electricity and water. The average person consumes 20,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, and 70% of this is attributed to air conditioning. The average person consumes 16,500 liters of water per person per month. Now let's talk about the environment. The UAE is ranked top 10 in the world for CO2 ratings. These are some data to back up. Compared to all these countries, you can see that the Middle East is ranked one of the highest. And if you look at this chart here, you can see the United Arab Emirates is ranked 7th just behind Kuwait with a rating of 22.4. Now, what are the issues? Well, the environment is a very high concern. There's a high electricity usage and high water usage. Now, addressing these problems while maintaining an enjoyable lifestyle proves to be a challenge. So our objectives are to develop a system to reduce CO2 emissions and drop lower on the scale, conserve electricity, specifically reducing 15% of energy utilization, conserve water, specifically to save 1,000 liters per person per month, while maintaining and promoting an enjoyable lifestyle by reducing 5% of living expenses, as we don't only have the company in mind, but also our consumers. So we have taken a 3-pronged approach to this. Number 1, energy optimization. Number 2, data monetization. And number 3, hybrid energy distribution. Let's start off with energy optimization. We're going to use IoT devices to measure, monitor, and save water and electricity. But why would consumers want to do this? Well, it would allow them to reduce consumption, save money, gain energy credits, and exchange credits for rewards. I'll get to that later. So our costs for a 3-bedroom apartment will be roughly around 300 per month. Let's move on to phase 2, data monetization, specifically big data aggregation. Our approach is to segregate and analyze data and sell it to businesses. Why would businesses purchase data from us? Well, it would help them reduce their customer acquisition costs. We're going to be charging them $5,000 per month, and that's a part of our premium package. And I'll be getting to the packages as well. Phase 3 is our hybrid energy distribution. Hybrid energy being non-renewable and renewable. Non-renewable being attributed to the burning of fossil fuels, and renewable being attributed to solar energy. Now, let's move on to our solution. This may look a bit confusing, but just bear with me. So we have 5 customer segments: our industrial, residential, property owners, renters, and government. And we have 6 smart devices: smart meters, solar plant, smart lighting, smart electricity, smart energy appliances, and smart water. Our customers are going to purchase these smart devices as part of the package, and they're going to install it on their properties. And these smart devices are going to collect the electricity and water usage in real time and send it to Moron.io's data hub where it is stored. Now let's get to the packages. First section, we have energy optimization, which consists of the lifestyle package, which has residential smart meters. Then we have the CNX package, CNX standing for carbon neutral, which has the industrial smart meters, which allows them to measure their usage on a larger scale. Our second section is our utility data as a service, which is a standard package where we sell raw aggregated data. Then we have our premium package, which is selling analyzed data. Then our elite package, which is selling data with insights or recommendations. Then we have our third section, hybrid energy, where we're providing 100 kilowatts of electricity to the industrial sector and 10 kilowatts of electricity to the commercial sector. Now let's look at how the DEWA portal is going to work. The DEWA portal is going to record the information collected by the smart devices. It's going to review and analyze the data and make a calculated recommendation to consumers on how they can better save electricity and water. But why would they want to do this? What incentive is there? This is where an approach called gamification comes into play. Now, gamification is going to work on a point system. The more electricity and water you save, the more points you gain. For example, when businesses save electricity, they can use their points to cash in on government subsidiaries. When consumers save up points, they can use these points to cash in on day-to-day devices and services, such as from Carrefour and Landmark Group. Here are our solution partners. We have customer equipment partners who will provide us with the resources. We'll have system integrators who will help us implement this. We'll have financing, who will provide funding for our organization. We'll have technology partners who will help us segregate the data, and we'll have government partners who will purchase the data from us. Now let's move on to our impacts. First, our solution will allow DEWA to reduce energy utilization by 15%, would add 3 additional revenue streams, one being energy optimization from our subscription fee, another being data reselling, and hybrid energy. And it would allow them to reduce their overall carbon dioxide emissions by 15%. Now, residents would be able to reduce their living expenses by 17%. Energy saved can be exchanged for goods with the loyalty program, and they reduce energy by 12%, specifically reducing 1,000 liters of water per month. Businesses will be able to reduce their utility expenses by 11%. They'll be able to get government subsidies for carbon credit exchange, as mentioned before, and they'll be able to switch to a more renewable energy source. Now, with governments, they'll be able to make more responsible and informed decisions from purchasing our data. And plus, they will be able to add an additional revenue stream from reselling this data. And we would be able to reduce Dubai's overall carbon dioxide emissions by 10%. Now, let's look at Pestel. This is a brief summary of our Pestel to come. So we are addressing political, economical, social, technological, environmental, and legal. Let's look at the analysis. For political, our solution would allow the government to amend DEWA so they no longer climb in price and eliminate their slab tariff system. For economical, the installation, maintenance, and sale of our IoT devices and services will create a massive job market that the UAE government can employ its citizens in. This ensures that the UAE's unemployment rate can be kept even lower through the creation of more jobs. Social. DEWA's use of gamification could give consumers an uplifting way to help them save money and benefit the environment, altogether promoting an enjoyable lifestyle and improving DEWA's happiness index, which will allow them to work their way up the ranks compared to other government agencies. Now let's look at technological. A technological advancement such as this has never been introduced within Dubai or even the UAE. If DEWA were to implement this highly innovative system, it would be a significant breakthrough and contribute to Vision 2021. Environmental. Consumers being able to track their consumptions of both resources at different times of the day would allow them to adjust to any unexpected rises in usage, therefore allowing them to locate and minimize these consumptions when they are not needed and decreasing their individual carbon footprint. Legal. With multiple businesses taking initiative to reduce their carbon footprint to cash in on government subsidiaries, the Dubai government would be able to ease usage restrictions in regard to construction products. So now, these are a few points that we have used for analysis. Now let's look at all the points that our solution addresses. Our solution would decrease the consumption of demerit goods, resources, increase green government operations, decrease the use of DEWA slab tariff system, increase tax income for the government, increase economic growth, decrease the unemployment rate, increase enjoyable lifestyle, decrease unhappy consumers, increase the happiness index, decrease underdeveloped households, increase country development, increase the contribution to Vision 2021, decrease global warming contribution, increase awareness of excess usage, decrease Dubai's carbon footprint, decrease energy fraud, and decrease the consumption of restrictions. So let's get to the pricing of our individual packages. So first, for our energy optimization section, we have the lifestyle package, where it's 180 dirhams per month for electricity and 170 dirhams per month for water. The contract would last around 24 months, and the break-even point would be around 1.2 years. So now moving to our utility data as a service section, we have our standard package, which would be 500 dirhams per month, and the break-even point would be 0.6 years. And moving on to our hybrid energy, for the industrial package, it would be 10,500 dirhams per month, and it would be the break-even point would be in 7 years, because we're looking for a long-term investment, as this is a business. Now let's look at our commercials. As you can see here, we have provided us 8-year forecast of financials, and the revenue at the end of these 8 years would be 1.1 billion, and the net income would be 155 million. They would break even around year 2, and they would continue to make profit after that. But as you can see here, the main cost is attributed to hardware. Thank you. My name is Malachi. I'm from Team Beta Squad, and these are my teammates.
Thank you, Team Beta Squad. Well done. Our next team for today is Team Albatross. Our next team is from Dubai English Speaking College, Team Albatross. Team, you may begin your presentation.
Miss, I think we sent you the presentation.
All right. Okay, Team Albatross, we haven't received any presentation from your end. Would you be able to share it with your screen?
Sure, Miss, I'll share the screen.
Perfect. Team Albatross, would you require some time? Team Albatross, are you able to hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you. Could we have some time, please? Sorry.
Okay, we will move on to the next team and come back again. All right?
Okay.
All right. Our next team for today is Team Dense Data from GEMS Wellington Academy, Dubai Silicon Oasis. Team, you may begin your presentation. Team Dense Data, are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Resound by Dense Data, a solution to one of Dubai's most pressing problems. The problem in question is that there is water leakages all across the United Arab Emirates, and more than 10% of UAE's precious water supply is leaking away, according to the National UAE. The following is the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal implications of this problem.
So firstly, we have the political implications, which are that the UAE's lax approach to water leak treatment may be criticized by their global counterparts. This includes countries such as the United States, which may impose stricter import tariffs and export tariffs as a response to UAE's negligence of water treatment and water leakages. Next, we consider the economical implications, which is that DEWA needs a solution that does not impose on the infrastructure that they have already built, as renovating the pipe or grid systems will damage the walls of these buildings and villas and the property market, which will be negatively affected by these reparations. Finally, the social implications, which are that Dubai has a lot of villa communities which suffer from water pipe bursts and sewer gas leaks. This obviously has implications in the sense that it increases the DEWA bills for many families which suffer from the high payments of these leaks. This expensive cost of living adds up to the troubles of the middle-class occupants in many of these villas around the country.
The technological implications of the problem are that the internet literacy rate in the UAE is relatively high, and DEWA has already begun to digitize their payments and service provider platforms. So combating this problem using big data seems to be fitting. The biggest environmental effects by DEWA are due to leaks in their sewer pipes, which release gases that are toxic, and the water pipe leaks, which waste up to 10% of the total water supply and cause infrastructure damage. So whether that's rusting of steel or damage to concrete. The UAE's copyright and patent laws coincide with international laws, which has allowed DEWA in the past to collaborate with and implement technologies from competitions that they have participated in, such as Free Electron. Additionally, private property permits limit the ability of DEWA to deal with this issue.
Our solution for this problem is using big data to triangulate leak location. So the sensor is using big data to triangulate the location of leaks all across the UAE. So we'll have audio and vibration data from these different sensors that will communicate to each other, and it will be collected by us. DEWA will then be notified of the location of the leaks after this data has been analyzed. This is the technological details of how the solution actually works. Primarily, the sound from the sensors will be collected in MP3 formats from every single one of the sound sensors. They will then be converted into spectrograms, which are 3 different spectrograms of 512 by 512 pixels themselves, which are an image representation of what the sound sounds like. These image pixel values will be fed into the neural network classifier that we will have trained, and the neural network will output from its output layer the local coordinates of the leak. This neural network will be trained using backwards propagation of error from the big data that we receive in the training stage. The ability for the neural network to be trained by backwards propagation of error allows it to be consistently getting better and better over time. The more we use this neural network classifier, the better it will become at finding leaks all across the United Arab Emirates. These are the technical layers of how this solution actually works. We'll originally collect sensor data from the hardware that will be installed in near pipes all across the UAE. This data will then be collected and transmitted to the adequate places where the neural network analysis will take place. After this neural network analysis takes place, the outputs of the neural network will be used to find locations of the leaks in an estimate format. Then we'll optimize the path for the repairmen to go to actually solve all these leaks. And then finally, all the leaks will be repaired in the shortest time possible.
Why this? Audio allows us to place these sensors under the ground with no need for light. Audio sensors are much cheaper than other kinds of sensors, so it's going to be cheaper to develop the sensors and acquire large amounts of them. After discussing this problem, the problem caused by water leaks with staff and gardens, both in a financial sense and to infrastructure, we determined that this was the most feasible and suitable solution. Why now? As a result of the coronavirus pandemic, people have an increased demand for water, whether this is for washing hands, showering, cleaning, or something else. This means that there will be an increased amount of water usage and dependency on water. So reducing the amount of water wasted has obvious impact or obvious benefits. Why here? The UAE is the most efficient country at plugging water leaks once they're found. This is shown on the article to the right. This makes this the perfect place to launch a beta or an alpha of Resounded. This can be moved on to other countries in the future.
All right, so discussing the political implications of our solution, first of all. So certain departments in DEWA, such as the infrastructure management, development, or procurement teams, may be responsible for certain leakages due to oversight in construction or planning. However, without analysis from programs such as ReSound, raising concern with responsible departments may be difficult, as such claims may be purely subjective. ReSound's analysis of indicators such as water pressure, rate of flow, and velocity of water will help triangulate the location of pipes that consistently produce leaks, helping to identify flaws in installment and planning, and this data from these identifying points can also be used to inform decision-making, such as whether DEWA should focus its resources on hiring new, more experienced individuals in certain departments.
On an economic front, the sensors pose a large installment and procurement costs. These will be discussed in more detail later on. In addition to other marginal costs incurred due to training and education of employees to effectively use ReSound. To facilitate this rising cost, DEWA may be forced to reallocate some of their 4 billion dirham budget to ReSound, diverting it away from other departments. Although there was an opportunity cost incurred in increasing spending on pipe repairs and triangulation, the savings generated over a 5-year period far outweigh the initial spending. DEWA, through their increasing use of ReSound, will also be able to exploit economies of scale, which will help lower long-run average costs.
Moving on to the social and environmental implications, the installation of sensors may cause road blockages and the unearthing of built-up land, which will lead to short-term visual pollution and congestion, catalyzing urban stress within the United Arab Emirates. Furthermore, the identification of leakages may help DEWA reduce their sunk costs. This may translate into a redirection of investment in infrastructure that helps to supply energy to local businesses, thereby encouraging foreign investment in the UAE. Furthermore, the early identification of leakages ensures that household conflict in water use is avoided, and the UAE's highly tourism-centered population enjoys a safe and constant stream of water. This, leading up to the Expo, is extremely important, as poor water infrastructure may deter future visitors from visiting Dubai and other touristic sites within the UAE. Drilling land to reveal pipes and their installation may lead to pollutants contaminating local waterways and a release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This obviously occurs due to labor-intensive installation methods that we previously discussed.
Moving on to technological implications, the sensors may require a relatively large initial startup capital or initially developed, but they are relatively cheap to manufacture and will only get cheaper as time progresses due to economies of scale. Furthermore, the components within the sensor, e.g. the depth sensor and the microphone, can be imported cheaply from countries such as Ghana and Vietnam. The analysis of and parsing through the data produced may be computer intensive, which requires investment into a powerful computer network. This cost can be deterred through the use of online cloud providers such as AWS or Azure. To further reduce the cost of initial infrastructure or the investment into initial infrastructure, we use the existing network communication infrastructure of ISPs in the UAE such as Etisalat and DEW. This allows us to enable the sensors to communicate with each other and to the servers controlling what they do.
Finally, then, the legal implications of our solution. If the leak is found underneath property not directly owned by DEWA, there might be some legal challenges when DEWA attempts to repair the leak or to install new sensors on private property. Additionally, legal challenges may arise from the damage caused by the leak on third-party owned property and inconveniences resulting from the same. The installation of sensors may also require safety inspections and approval from legislators. This bears costs, as the administrative work may at times be extremely lengthy. Furthermore, gaining permission from local authorities to unearth buried pipes to install sensors may also pose further challenges in garnering permission.
The use of big data by our solution is something that's pretty comprehensive. Our data will be collected continuously and simultaneously from our entire sensor data network. Sensors that are in the same local area will communicate with each other to find leaks in this local area. The veracity of our data will be discussed now. As we're collecting our own data, it'll have the highest possible accuracy. Data will also be processed at the same speed as it's generated by our sensors, so we do not lose any vital information. And finally, on the local scale, we'll have 3 or more sensors in one area. So this means that we're going to have 3 separate streams of data at the same time.
To reduce the amount of capital required, we've devised a sensor deployment plan. We've separated the city of Dubai into zones based on population density, water pipe density, and ease of installation based on pre-existing underground infrastructure. With this information, we're able to more efficiently allocate sensors to each area, maximizing sensor utilization and minimizing initial cost. The costs of this system are as follows. We divided them into 5 categories: sensors, training, network development, management, and maintenance. In the sensors category, this includes the development of the sensors and mass production. As you can see from the table, the cost, and the graph, the cost reduces over time due to economies of scale. The category of training includes the training of employees to use the software, embed sensors, and deal with errors. This cost plateaus at a certain value in year 1 and year 2 to account for potential changes in employees and maintenance teams. The category of network development includes the deployment, so the digging equipment, permits, etc., and the onboarding process, which is connecting to network infrastructure. The management category includes the procurement of necessary maintenance equipment and non-DEWA staff, so contractors required to maintain it. The use of contractors allows us to reduce the initial investment. The category of maintenance includes the sensor replacement, as well as the cost to facilitate the replacement of the sensors. As shown in the variation of cost graph, all costs reduce over time. Moving on to revenue or savings. The primary savings comes from the ability to reduce the amount of water wasted through leaks. Accounting for the cost of water production, treatment, transport, and infrastructure damage is also on the graph shown to the right. The break-even point is approximately 6 months post-deployment. We can also see that the savings increase exponentially from deployed to year 1 and year 2, and the costs reduce. This value shows that the investment in our system is justifiable and reasonable.
To conclude, our solution is a novel implementation of big data that reduces DEWA's water leak costs using a neural network trained via backpropagation that's a constantly improving detection algorithm. Advanced ground-embedded sensors are used to reduce damage to the environment and to the infrastructure for a very relatively low initial capital requirement. There's also exponential savings growth for both DEWA and the UAE government, and the location-optimized deployment strategy for solving these water leaks. Thank you very much for listening. We're now willing to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Team Dense Data. Well done. Our next team for today is Team Albatross from Dubai English Speaking College.
Why should DEWA need to conserve water? Due to the large amount of employees working from home in the UAE, it results in an increase in the amount of water and electricity being used as people are forced to stay inside to avoid spreading the virus. Due to the high demand for water and electricity, DEWA has experienced demand shock. In order to keep up with the increased demand for electricity, DEWA will have to increase the amount of fossil fuels used to produce the required amount. This results in increased pollution. Thus, DEWA needs to look for new sustainable options using big data. When we were making our system, we had 4 objectives. We wanted to create a system that uses big data that is able to track the water usage of households as well as electricity usage as well. We wanted to be able to reduce water loss and water consumption. We wanted to minimize electricity usage, however, we wanted residents to keep with an enjoyable lifestyle. But most importantly, we wanted to be able to reduce environmental costs. Now, using big data, DEWA can see the water usage of each household. This is already in use, as DEWA has been able to send emails to residents to check for leaks if they believe that the residents' water usage is irregular and higher than normal for that month. Throughout the following months or years, DEWA could start putting smart devices in residents' power boxes if they give consent and approval, in order to check their usage and be able to help the resident identify which part of the house uses the most water and electricity. The residents can then be notified through the DEWA app. Through the smart devices inputted into the houses, DEWA can then identify patterns in water usages for the whole community, if the whole community has the devices placed. This will allow them to reduce the water in the community to only the certain parts where required, thus being able to conserve more water. Using the same system, however, instead of putting smart devices in their houses, they can put them underground, on their pipes. This will be crucial in order to conserve water traveling from the DEWA pumps to all across Dubai. When pipes burst, around 400 liters of water is lost. Therefore, in order to avoid the waste of water, DEWA can monitor all the pipes. So when a pipe bursts, DEWA can replace the old pipe with a newly developed pipe with smart devices displaying the condition of the pipe, such as whether water is flowing through, does it need maintenance, does it need to be changed. If water is not flowing through the pipe, DEWA will be notified and try to solve the problem. However, this will take a long time to do, as due to the varying age of the pipes and the amount. This will be very beneficial for DEWA in the long run, as it will be able to conserve more water, as they can identify faulty pipes before they burst, reducing the wastage of water.
DEWA is a government-run company in the UAE. Therefore, the political foundations are quite apparent. It must understand the importance of encrypting all big data from its users to prevent cyber theft and fraud. They must ensure to abide by the data protection laws in order to maximize consumer utility and confidentiality. An area where DEWA could possibly work with other departments is in terms of taxation. Electricity and water consumption must be taxed more heavily as consumption increases. By using smart meters that send data back to DEWA, we can understand just how much each household is using. In terms of analysis, it is important to look at this from a per capita basis. If a house has 5 people in it, it should not be judged the same as a house with 2 people. By doing this, we are not only preserving the environment, but we are maintaining equity, which will incentivize the consumer to consume less. By doing this, we are minimizing the overusage of electricity and protecting the environment. In terms of government policy, to stimulate greener efficiency, we could put in regulations to ensure that the houses above 1.5 million dirhams in value install solar panels that cover at least 10% of their consumption. Anything above this would follow in tax rebates. As DEWA's average utility cost is already 20,000 dirhams, we are likely to see sharp increases in solar panel installations across the UAE. The smart meters would then send back the data based on how much energy the solar panels are generating, which allows the government to adjust for incentives. In terms of social benefit, we would see better healthcare and better health in terms of the average person, due to the decreased reliance on unsustainable energy, therefore less air pollution. This would help prevent further stress on hospitals, which are already decimated by COVID-19. I must add that due to DEWA's emphasis on sustainable living, society is more educated on their consumption habits in relation to the environment, which could have a knock-on impact in other industries, to people switching to more sustainable foods, for example. The economic implications of tax policies would see a surplus in energy production in the long run, which would be very lucrative for DEWA and society as a whole in terms of long-run benefits. Big data can identify the areas which are producing the most energy, and therefore we can build infrastructure based on that data to cope with the incoming stream of energy. When looking at long-term energy options, it would be beneficial to look at alternative sustainable options. We can use our consumption tax funds for research and development into alternative energy sources. Upcoming fields showing promise are electric and hydrogen-powered cars. However, we can also look at nuclear and fusion research and development for the future. By using tax from overusage, we are creating a cycle where we can penalize the largest consumers to create a self-sustaining research and development program. Big data can give us indications on what areas are consuming the most. Therefore, we can take relative actions to counteract the usage, such as building the first renewable sources there to prevent the damage. By doing this, the high polluters are consuming renewable resource energy, however, are still funding our tax policy. It would be estimated that by following this scheme, we would have a sustainable country by 2035. An addition policy would be following that of the UK. By banning fossil fuel cars by 2030, we can see an increase in electric and hybrid vehicles, which would result in a further decrease in pollution. These laws would increase the standard of living and quality of air in the UAE and improve its sustainability. Through climate change data from DEWA stations, we can understand the effects of our program as time goes on. This could reduce the impact of climate change and lead as an example for other countries to follow. So we might see some initial drawbacks from customers that might have disagreements with the policies of DEWA. This is as we could witness some instability in terms of consumer satisfaction due to the new taxes. We could also witness negative lifestyle changes such as showering less to save water, which could therefore increase the health problems in society. Might I add that there will be a lot more R&D needed for fusion and hydrogen technology to become a reality. Therefore, it might be a long wait and the cost might be high. But who knows, the payoff might be worth it.
DEWA will not only save money for the consumer, but allow for positive externalities. Since it is a government firm, the main objective is to maximize societal benefit. They can save thousands of dirhams by preemptive action in repairing pipes, so there's less water loss. Less damages to DEWA's infrastructure through smart monitoring of pipes by tracking water usage and taxing people. They are decreasing overconsumption of water and electricity and increasing money saved by consumers as they are more cautious. The tax therefore generates money for DEWA. Finally, to be able to make money by the solar power initiative, as this energy could be taken free from the consumer due to the mandatory solar power legislation for houses above 1.5 million dirhams. DEWA can therefore profit from this additional energy. The cost to DEWA would result in decreased consumer revenue. The average utility bill for a 3-bedroom household is around 20,000 dirhams annually. We might perhaps see a 5% decrease as electricity is inelastic. We would therefore have an average cost of 19,000 instead, a 1,000 dirhams decrease. Multiply this by 500,000 residential units, we have a 500 million dirham decrease on average. However, the cost could be less as we have less negative externalities such as pollution to deal with. A house needs 25 to 38 solar panels to produce the entire house. Taking the midpoints 31.5 and multiplying it by 10%, we get around 3 solar panels per house. 3 panels would generate over 1,500 kilowatts a year with at a profit of 774 dirhams. Over 150,000 houses are above 1.5 million dirhams, meaning that 116.1 million dirhams in profit. As time goes on, we will see a steady rise in profits due to investment from other sources of renewable energy.
Team Albatross, you're out of time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the end of the video, Miss.
Pardon?
That was the end of the video.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Our next team and final team for today is Team Insurgents from Al Diafa High School. Team, you may begin your presentation. Team Insurgents, are you ready?
Miss, I think one of our members have not been made panelist.
What is their name?
I think Natasha.
All right, just give us a minute.
Wait, Miss, I think 3 of our members. There's Natasha, Nathan, and Lakshan.
Natasha, Natharjan, Nathan, Don?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Lakshan.
Lakshan, all right. All right, you all have received panelist status. And you can share your screen and presentation. All right. Team, you may begin.
Greetings to everyone present here. We are Team Insurgents from Al Diafa High School, and today we will be presenting our final case study for the DEWA Business Cup Challenge. DEWA has given importance to sustainability and the conservation of resources with initiatives such as the 800 megawatt solar power plant, which is set to be launched this year. This move to renewable sources of energy will change Dubai for the better and protect the world.
The Dubai 10X initiative was launched by the UAE, aiming to make Dubai the global leader that is 10 times ahead of all other cities through government innovation and reshaping the economy with research and development.
Our proposition for DEWA is a big data-based energy management solution which is targeted to fulfill the sustainability objectives and the 10X plan. Our system automates and optimizes a network of distributed energy resources to radically reduce energy costs and provide flexible capacity during peak and off-peak times. The system will use high volumes of data collected from smart meters and advanced sensor technology, expecting 96 million reads per day at 15-minute intervals from every 1 million meters, and off-grid data from third-party datasets, advanced sensor technology, customer geographic and demographic data, and weather, enabling safe coordination and distribution of energy resources scalable in real time, with the goal of improving utility operations and grid reliability.
Increasing adoption of smart connected devices, example, thermostats, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning units, in short, HVAC systems, is influencing the design of demand response programs, especially for thermostat-based ones. Even though utilities want big megawatt demand response resources, smart thermostats are already penetrating small and medium-sized commercial facilities to manage HVAC systems for efficiency and comfort, and therefore achieve demand response potential. HVAC is one of the most promising end uses in buildings for delivering peak capacity demand. HVAC systems uh, here we introduce a framework for estimating the demand response potential from HVAC systems in office, retail, and other types of small and medium commercial premises. This framework uses a regression-based prediction strategy to estimate the demand response potential from large-scale aggregation of building loads.
The most common load shape regression technique uses heating and cooling degree days to normalize monthly consumption. Degree day is a quantitative index that has been demonstrated to reflect demand for energy to heat or cool houses and businesses. The load shape regression model has been implemented mostly for evaluating consumer demand response. The estimation relies on a few key points: changes to thermostat set points, time of the day, season, weather conditions, and building envelope and HVAC characteristics. This null approach relies on a collection of previously generated detailed simulation results from physical models to produce a highly accurate estimate of a building's thermal response to the above inputs. This strategy avoids the large amount of computational time that would be required for physical building models to estimate the demand response potential of a large heterogeneous load population.
Typically, cooling power usage increases linearly with outside air temperature, whereas electrical heating system power usage decreases when the outside weather is warm. Keeping this in mind, DEWA can control the supply simultaneously when the power is directed from the main power plant or from renewable energy sources. It will allow DEWA to make decisions on which source to use. For instance, during peak hours where there is high demand for kilowatts, DEWA can direct this from power plant and energy stored in batteries, whereas during off-peak hours where low kilowatts are consumed, this can be sourced from renewable energy sources such as solar or wind turbines. This system is to use the most efficient and ideal source to respond to the demand without excess supply.
We believe our idea would benefit DEWA in many ways. Firstly, it avoids excess supply, which leads to wastage. As natural resources are depleting, it is very important to preserve and reduce wastage to the maximum. Secondly, the flexible supply. This idea allows DEWA to be flexible with the supply of energy and give them the freedom to be more flexible with the pricing, allowing them to make changes based on what they identify as best for the customer. Energy efficiency. DEWA is developing and testing the next generation of energy-saving technologies with an emphasis on demand-side waste reduction and advanced cooling technologies. Our proposition further aids DEWA in achieving their goal of reduced demand for energy. Here are the financials for implementation of the proposed framework to DEWA. By attaining a more efficient supply system, the generation, transmission, and distribution costs are expected to decrease over time. As shown in the graph, the costs have been increasing. The costs for upcoming years as the supply will slowly shift from traditional power plants to solar energy sources.
With the proportion of costs being reduced over time, the profit DEWA will achieve will rise in a steep slope as the sale of electricity will eventually increase from the upcoming years.
By achieving flexibility in the supply, DEWA can achieve a 6% decrease in cost. The percentage increase in cost is significantly lower compared to the increase without the framework and sticking to traditional supply. Energy management has a direct impact on profitability with an increase of 10% as cost of producing electricity reduces, therefore giving DEWA opportunities to increase their investments in more advanced technology and research and development. Efficiency gains has risen to 31% till 2019. With our framework, we estimate that this could be increased to 35% annually and ahead. By optimizing operations, DEWA can achieve a 5% decrease in CO2 emissions annually as generation units will be shut off more efficiently, which is also due to the 500 plus million watts being available from renewable energy sources. Average figures such as costs and profit were taken from DEWA's consolidated financial statements 2015 to 2018. This project is feasible due to the low cost of implementation of a big database framework, which can easily be covered by the high revenue of DEWA.
Pestle political. Over the past decade, savings in the commercial sector amount to 1.2 terawatt hour of electricity. With our system included in the 10x initiative, DEWA will be able to double the savings by 2030, decrease Dubai's carbon footprint as part of the carbon abatement strategy, and encourage the rational use of resources. This supports the demand-side management strategy to reduce energy and water use by 30% by 2030. DEWA will be able to benefit its customers by reducing the tariffs that it charges to commercial and industrial locations due to its cost-cutting and reduction in carbon emissions. Our objective is to reduce the current rate of 38 fills per kilowatt hour to 20 fills per kilowatt hour, not only due to reduced costs, but also due to increased consumer awareness of the environmental impact.
Economic. DEWA may be able to fulfill the sustainability objective and the 10x plan by implementing this system, which aims to achieve the goal of improving utility operations and grid flexibility. It will help to optimize use with smart demand-side flexibility features and save costs and energy. Due to the reduced costs, consumers will have more disposable income, allowing them to spend it on other goods, boosting economic growth, which is crucial during this time as consumer spending has fallen due to the current pandemic.
Social. GCC governments have identified the need to prepare current and future generations to handle big data by building data specialist capabilities, training government employees, and revising existing educational curricula. Smart Dubai has recently partnered with the private sector to build Data Lab to push data science skills in Dubai, improve collaboration within the data science community, and uncover opportunities to boost the data ecosystem. Trends show that 92% of UAE residents support a move towards savings.
In order to derive insights from big data, the necessary technology, architecture, and analytical capabilities are being implemented to facilitate usage. Improvements through the usage of big data and AI aids in improving the larger population through small changes in the way that electricity is distributed, managed, and used. Using the big data-based energy management solution allows to radically reduce the cost of delivering and consuming power. This leaves DEWA with additional finance that can be invested into solar park and further initiatives to raise awareness of the importance of water and electricity.
Environmental. This energy management system is driven by environmental goals. It will drastically reduce power consumption and help make the transition for DEWA from fossil fuels to renewables much easier. This framework also reduces the amount of wastage as the power is managed and allocated efficiently between peak and off-peak times. This will ideally aid the UAE with achieving its vision of low carbon emissions and sustainability goals, such as displacing peaking power stations from the system will result in UAE's cutting down of CO2 emissions by 5% annually.
Legal. Entities need to rewire their architecture and favor scalability to cope with large amounts of data sets with the ability to transform and load data in real time if needed. Data security aids threat detection. Keeping these key principles in mind will lower implementation risks and improve the ability to process large data sets. As per the Federal Law Number 24, consumers need transparency and have the right to know about the services they're exposed to. Therefore, our system can publish the choice of source, trends in electricity production, grid output, and carbon footprint along with smart meter data, giving them information where the electricity comes from and how the consumption affects the environment, encouraging them to be more responsible and aware about the world and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, team insurgents. Well done to all the 12 teams that presented today. That brings us to the end of today's case study presentations. We will now take a short break of 20 minutes before we announce the winners of the DEWA Business Cup Challenge 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for, the announcement of the winners of the DEWA Business Cup Challenge 2020 and the presentation ceremony. Before we proceed, we would like to thank our sponsors, the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, the Research and Development Center that is part of the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, Khalij Times, Bounce Middle East, UniNet Student Residences, Hunter Foods, BPG Max, and Transnational Academic Group. This competition and day of learning would not have been possible without your support. Can we all please applaud our judges and sponsors in appreciation? Our scholarships partner, Transnational Academic Group, will be awarding scholarships of 25% to the second runners-up to study in any program at Curtin's Dubai campus, and scholarships of 30% to the first runners-up. The first runners-up will also be receiving an internship from the Transnational Academic Group. Our winning team will be receiving scholarships of 50% from the Transnational Academic Group to study in any program at Curtin's Dubai campus. Our winning team will also be receiving an internship offer from DEWA along with multiple entry passes to Bounce Middle East. Our industry partners, UniNet Student Residences and Hunter Foods, will be presenting hampers to the winning teams as well. I would now like to request Dr. Hisham Ismail to address the gathering.
Thank you, thank you. So just to go over, my name is Dr. Hisham, head of the 4IR research area in DEWA, R&D, working closely in artificial intelligence, IoT, and big data. I would like to thank everyone for making it this far. I heard many great ideas and I could feel the effort and the dedication by the team in putting up the slides and even the coordination. I wish everyone good luck and a successful career ahead, and thanks to all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Hisham. I would now like to call Mr. Dan Adkins, CEO of Transnational Academic Group, to please announce our theme for next year's competition and our winners.
Thank you so much, Avril. So this year has been all about big data. The year before was AI, and the year before that was blockchain. So how do you follow up on those three great technological ideas? Well, you do it with something that is bringing the entire world onto the internet. So our theme for next year is the Internet of Things, and all of the case studies will be around implementing IoT solutions to improve businesses and other organizations around the world. I think it's probably going to be our most exciting and our most challenging Business Cup challenge. So now to address the group and announce the winners. So if we can begin with the second runners up, it is Team FFF from Dubai College. Congratulations for a great presentation. Our first runners up Team Beta Squad from Raffles International Academy. Again, congratulations. It was a fantastic idea. And finally, our winners who absolutely lived up to their name, Team Blitzkrieg from Al Diafa High School, who had the best overall solution. All of the teams did a wonderful job today. We saw some truly innovative and creative ideas and a great way of handling the competition, even though it was done in an online environment. So congratulations to all 12 teams and to the schools and counselors who worked with them. With that, I turn it back to Everil and look forward to seeing all of you next year in the Business Cup Challenge 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. I hope you all have enjoyed today's event as much as we have. Congratulations to the winners and thank you to everyone for taking part. I would like to request all the 12 finalists to share their group picture with the Business Cup Challenge crew. In recognition for all your hard work, you will all be receiving a certificate of participation. But remember, it certainly doesn't end here. We encourage you to keep in touch with the Business Cup Challenge crew and tune in for more updates on next year's challenge. Until then, be well, stay safe, and have a great day. You will be contacted shortly on further details regarding the prizes that you have won. Thank you.